Welcome back, everybody, to Goodwill Podcasting with Connor and Stone. Sadly, today, Dan has been frozen in carbonite. And Lord Vader told us the only way to get him back was if we talked about the original Star Wars trilogy. And I didn't know, and we didn't know if we could do this on our own, so we got the help of a local Jedi Knight. He goes by the name, AKA Modern Mythos Media. But on the pod today, he's going to be known as Sean. Thank you, my friend, for talking with these movies about them with us today. And I don't know, are you a Star Wars fan or?
Listen, I just heard you call me a Jedi Knight, not a Jedi Master. So we're gonna have to talk about that one. I don't know if I didn't qualify for rank, and I'm gonna go the Anakin route here. But yeah, obviously a massive Star Wars fan. We know that. One of my favorite pods maybe my favorite pod that I've ever been on was our last one talking about the prequels and realizing that Attack of the Clones is actually good. So I'm stoked and going through this rewatch journey with all the movies. It's been fun, and Andor's out now, and Andor rocks. So it's just I'm super Star Wars pilled right now. It's great.
Yeah, I forgot. So is this your third time on the podcast?
So we did what? Was the Batman the first one probably when I was just glazing
Batman,
the shit out of Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson. Yeah, so the Batman, best Batman movie out there, by the way. And then the prequels, and then now the original trilogy. Yeah, 3 times.
All right.
Repeat.
And then I believe we're going to have you on later in the year to talk about the sequels. You're going to be busy until then, though. Your life's about to change just a little bit. I've heard from Connor as he has experience with that, but I do not just yet. Oh, also, Connor remembered that you got really upset that we didn't have our dogs last time. He remembered that, so I have my dogs in the background here.
Nice. There we go.
Mine's floating around here somewhere.
Mine are too crazy, so I can't have them in the room because they'll just be trying to gnaw my mic off, but they're here in spirit.
It's okay, Connor. He's just a Jedi Knight. You don't have to apologize to him.
That's crazy.
Okay, to be fair, I wanted to clarify this for our listeners. You two are a huge Star Wars fan. I like Star Wars. I have Star Wars playing in the back. I have just the 3 movies I think I own on VHS. I don't. Okay, Connor's got a tattoo. He's showing.
Is that new tattoo. Or no?
No, I've had this for 4 years.
That's a sick tattoo.
Do you have any movie or TV themed tattoos, Sean?
I have the hero's journey, Odyssey tattooed on me right there.
Okay, so not a movie yet, not the Odyssey.
No,
I guess Troy. But
I'll get Christopher Nolan to sign it right up here somewhere. But yeah, not yet. I have plans to get some stuff.
So I was I was going to quiz you, but that'd be stupid. I have the koi fish from Avatar on the back of my arm.
Do you?
Yes, I do have the koi fish.
My
shirt is a little bit tight, or I would show you.
Nice. Yeah, you got to flex the muscles. I'm gonna get an Avatar tattoo probably in the fall. I got a couple plans.
I've seen the ones of Aang, and he's basically, I think it's Adam. He looks like Adam, and everything's just revolving around him, the world is. I'm just that's pretty fucking sick. Just to get that on your back or something. But they're expensive, man.
They're crazy. I know, but and I like my artists a lot. She actually just had a baby as well, so I'm she's going back on the books in the fall, so I'll get there. And I've been looking at the tattoo of I forget what, I don't know if it's Lucifer or whatever, the fallen angel classic image, but it's just Anakin instead of whoever the actual biblical figure is. It's just you could just tell it's him from Revenge of the Sith. So I was I might have to get that at some point. We'll see.
So I think, Connor, how many tattoos do you have?
15.
Holy shit! I did not think you had that many.
Yeah.
Where are they? Are they on your arms?
Where?
Yeah, you can. I mean,
tattoo tour.
Yeah.
I have my ring, this band tattoo, whale shark, Boba Fett, cancer ribbon for my mom, hammerhead shark on my ribs, 2 calf tattoos of my grandparents' house in Tennessee. I have a Sacred Heart on my right knee, which was funny because I was out of a gumball machine at the tattoo convention, and it said you get what you get.
Nice.
That's sick.
And then I have 3 Tarantino movie tattoos on my thigh.
Holy shit! It's just it's a big toe, a middle toe, and a pinky toe.
No, it's a Torrey Hanzo's logo. It's Ezekiel 25:17 and Lieutenant Aldo Rain's knife.
Nice.
That's sick.
So I think the only thing I have is Avatar. I have this I'm like tempted to take off my shirt right now. You know, it's a late night pod. We usually record in the mornings. We get kind of freaky.
Goodwill
Um,
podcasting after dark, bro.
yeah, but I won't do that. But I have some tattoos. I want to do this arm as like a nature arm. I think I have a bouquet of flowers, a butterfly, an elephant. Do I have anything here? Hold on. Let me do a little peeky. Oh yeah, I've got like a huge Tyrannosaurus Rex right here too. Forgot about that.
You have a T. I got a T Rex. Mine's a little smaller, but you know.
Average,
Sean, don't make me
Do you see this?
take off my.
It's a line art dino with a knife in his mouth. Why do I have this? I don't know.
If my body was better, I think that I would take off my shirt right now. But we're not gonna do that. I forgot.
That's it's on the Patreon. It's on the Patreon.
Yeah, subscribe to the Patreon. You get Stone After Dark.
The Patreon that we don't have.
No,
we might. Yeah, we have like tons of comments on this video. It's like, just start the Patreon right now. We need it. I will say, little tangent here, but no, not tangent. I'm still about the tattoos. I have a pizza slice. This is really cool. I have a pizza slice on my side from my best friends in college, and basically we all met at a Papa John's. And my buddy, who I talk to still almost like every single day, he woke up from a dream, and he was like, "Man, I have like this idea for this tattoo." And I was like, "Okay." And he drew it out. And basically, I'm gonna try to draw it out for you really quick. It's very simple, but basically, we met at Papa John's, and the crust of the pizza makes a P, and then the rest of the pizza makes a J. And then what he did was he did the toppings as all of our initials.
That's crazy.
I moved to Pensacola, Florida, and we did this tattoo in my new place. I think one day after I moved there, and I never paid the girl to do it, which I'm a terrible person. It was like $40, but I was like, I don't know what life's going to throw at me or whatever like that. But All right, I've got it. All right, I did it. So basically, this crust is like the P. So this is like the inside, the circle of the P. Okay. And it comes down. Man, this is tough doing this. And then this J, hold on, shit. Right,
I see.
This J right there, that's a J. So this is a P, this is a J, and then you have like an S, G, and then this is like an M. But it just looks like random ass toppings.
That's funny.
Now, for our audience, I hope that you're watching this video. And then it's like, wow, this is a really good visual aid here that we cannot see.
Right? Great podcasting.
Yeah. But what do you think it is about Star Wars, man, that just like connects with you? Because would you say that is the most passionate piece of media for you that you're so in love with?
I would say, yeah, it's probably Star Wars and Avatar: The Last Airbender are probably the two that I find myself like really going nuts for. I love DC as well and Marvel. I'm probably more DC than Marvel at this point, but that's kind of my like holy grail of franchises or like IPs that I'm super into. And Star Wars just, kind of the classic. Like my grandma grew up loving it. She was obsessed with Harrison Ford, always had the VHSs on. That's what we watched going over her house, blah, 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 so just kind of fell into my lap there. I remember, she passed on years and years ago, but I remember like when Rogue One came out, she was living with me in my parents' house at the time and like running down to like the mother-daughter suite being like, you got to fucking watch this Rogue One trailer. It's crazy. She's like 80 years old, it's just like,
dude, that's so cool.
So yeah, it's just like, I love Star Wars. I feel like it's, it just makes me happy, man. I'll eat the slop up. But, I love the Andor stuff that feels a little bit smarter. I love the Jedi shit. I love Mando. I love the movies. I love the, sequels for what they are too. So I'm an unapologetic Star Wars fan, probably.
I will say, I know, as we've already said, I'm not as intense in the fandom as you are, but I do go on social media here and there. And I saw that they just had Star Wars Celebration, and they announced a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
What project are you most excited for out of all those? I think I probably know, but
yeah, Connor and I have talked about this a ton, but like the two of us are very into Star Wars animation, and I think that's kind of where they just never miss. Almost like anytime there's animated Star Wars, to me it is just peak, because there's no guardrails. You could do whatever you want. You could make the Jedi look however you want. You could there's just nothing there for it to miss, right? So they announced a mall show, and I won't spoil anything for people who haven't seen the Clone Wars animated show or Star Wars Rebels the animated show or Bad Batch the animated show, all of the animated stuff is fantastic. Go watch it. But Darth Maul obviously comes back from the dead, which, big spoiler for a show that came out 10 years ago. He's a very big part of all the animated stuff. And the show, he's finally getting his own show. It's led by the villain. They are bringing in original George Lucas sequel trilogy ideas. So what he would have done with the sequel after, what we're going to talk about today. Obviously, the timeline changes based on, this can't be the sequel. So they're bringing it into kind of in between 3 and 4. But some very fucking cool stuff, for lack of a better word. And I'm very excited for that. It's a feature-length show, probably going to be like, 15, 16 episode seasons, 30-minute episodes. So very locked in on that. Mando and Grogu looks pretty solid. Ryan Gosling is in Star Wars now with Sean Levy directing. Sure, I love Ryan Gosling. He's literally me, so I'll watch it, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I'm more kind of Star Wars animation at this point than I am live action, because I know they won't let me down.
Yeah, I figured that Maul was probably the thing that stood out the most to you. So basically, there's, if I understood you correctly, there's ideas that were going to happen after Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
That's not when this story takes place, but because they're
Correct.
going to take those ideas and then put them in between 3 and 4.
Yeah, so Maul kind of has his story, beginning, middle, and end, that you see over the course of these animated shows. But there is like a 15-year gap between where we see him at the end of the Clone Wars and where we see him like kind of right before A New Hope. And there's a lot of time in there. You kind of see it in Solo, a movie. He's kind of in at the end of that, if you remember. I don't know if it's post-credit or not post-credit, but
no, it's not. It's like right at the end.
So he pops up there, and essentially George Lucas was going to have Maul like slide in when the Empire is destroyed. He fills that power vacuum, becomes like crime lord of the galaxy, kind of like Jabba the Hutt on steroids, and then has a bunch of enforcers that he creates that are kind of like Sith users and shit. So there's a whole lot of really cool ideas in there, and it sounds like, based on the leaked trailers and stuff, that they're going to bring that directly to this animated show, which to me, I'm in.
Have you if there was one time period of Star Wars that you would want to be adapted for either, animation or live action, I think I probably know what you're talking about, because I feel like that's what all Star Wars fans want. But just hearing Maul is going to take place between, the third and the fourth movie just makes me think about the fact that Andor is taking place between the third and the fourth movie.
A lot of stuff is third and fourth movie, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming you would want like the Knights of like the Old Republic, like way back in the day, I'm assuming.
I don't know if you know what's on my shirt right now, but this is
I don't.
This is a Darth Nihilus shirt for the people at home. Real ball knowers know who that is. Yeah, the Old Republic is by far the coolest shit that Star Wars has ever done. It's not canon. The video games are excellent, Knights of the Old Republic, and like a lot of the books from that time period are sick too. Again, not canon. Disney would probably do it very different. I think the High Republic, which what they're doing with the books, and what the Acolyte was, RIP, that was kind of the High Republic, which is probably their version of that, but it still wasn't back quite as far because it was just 100 years before Phantom Menace. So Old Republic was like thousands of years before. There's like Mandalorian wars versus the Jedi and Sith that would eat worlds, like crazy shit. And I would just love to dive into that because it's gritty and raw. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, but Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think is that where I think Dan keeps on talking about it so much, because I think out of all the Star Wars projects that have been announced, obviously there's been a lot that have been delayed, and people don't really know what's going on with them. A lot in limbo. But the fact that James Mangold, I think, is the one who's directing like an Old Republic movie, right?
I don't think it's Old Republic, but it is. I think it's
around
even
that
before
time
that. Like I think they're like it's like the dawn. I think they call it the Dawn of the Jedi. I think they said it's going to be kind of biblical, where it's like these groups who don't know what the Force is yet are finding it, and it's probably like the origin of like a group is going to use it. It's like tribes almost, and it's just like people are going to use it for good, and other people are going to use it for evil. And we might just kind of see the angle of that. It felt very biblical from how Mangold talked about it. I think that's very far off in the distance. I hope that doesn't get canceled because it's a very interesting topic. But yeah, it's time. As much as I'll eat up the Maul between 3 and 4 stuff and Andor and all this, like I think it's time we get some High Republic stuff. We get some post sequel trilogy stuff. We get some Old Republic stuff, and just kind of get weird. It's time.
Yeah, I know this is my podcast, our podcast, so I should be a little bit more informed on this stuff. And I'm just keep on just asking you
Yeah,
questions.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you're the Star Wars guy. So do you know when, and this will be the last question I ask before we get into A New Hope, do you know when Ryan Gosling's movie takes place? Did they get into specifics of that? I
They
know, what is it called?
said
Star Wars Fighter or Skyfighter? Like
Starfighter.
Starfighter, okay.
Star Wars Starfighter is a little, I don't know, kind of a mouthful. I like Starfighter, but Star Wars Starfighter is a
Saying
little,
star twice
yeah,
is
a little
we
goofy.
don't need that.
That'll probably, and God, Sean Levy directing Star Wars. I don't know if, yeah, that's a whole other thing. But they said it's going to be, I think, 5 years after the sequel trilogy. I think the heavy rumors are that he is like with his nephew, like he's the uncle, and like they're getting chased basically by like two villains. Very loose leaf. Who knows if that's actually what's going to happen. They said it's its own kind of standalone story, but then there's also people that are saying no, actually, it's standalone, but characters from the sequel trilogy might pop in. I'm like, then it's not standalone. What are we doing? So I don't know. I'm kind of just not interested in sequel trilogy legacy characters. That doesn't mean I didn't, like I like Daisy Ridley, I like John Boyega, but I don't know if I'm dying to see more of their content in this universe.
That's crazy because I keep telling Dan, and I hate this, and Connor, that I'm like, I don't feel confident with anything from Star Wars.
No, you can't.
There's been so much that has been canceled and been announced. And I think for a while there was, I guess, rumors, or they were trying to be in development of like the Daisy Ridley and like continue all that. But then did they announce anything about this? Is another question. They didn't announce anything about that at Star Wars Celebration, did they?
They said it's coming. It's one of those like, yeah, we're moving along, and Kathleen Kennedy is like, and I'm not a demonizer of Kathleen Kennedy. I think she does good and bad, but yeah, she's just like, don't worry, they're all coming. But the fact that like Levy went up there, what I do like about that is that he was just like, can I make this movie? I just made $1 billion with Marvel. Please give me the rights to Star Wars. I love it. And they were like, sure. And he's like, okay, we're doing this now. I got Ryan Gosling. We're making this movie. At the next Celebration, the rumors came out like 2 months ago or something. Celebration comes out. Ryan Gosling walks out, and like, we're filming next, in the fall. So it's like, oh shit. Like, okay, this one's actually happening. Same thing with Mando Grogu. Like, that's already done filming. Like, so like those are the two that you can count on. So I do respect like them showing those things and be like, these are the two that we know are coming. The rest are more concepts at this time. So I don't even know if they brought out like the director for Daisy Ridley's movie and that kind of stuff. I don't think James Mangold was there. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think they just kind of know that they need to get some trust back.
Yeah, and it's crazy too. I wonder if there's going to be like an oversaturation of seeing Ryan Gosling in space, to be honest, because I'm thinking about Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary is going to blow this out of the water, probably. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
And Gosling, I know he's on his franchise run right now. Like he's just kind of, letting it hang and have fun. And I'm kind of mourning his Blade Runner and just like Drive characters. We'll probably never see that again, which is fine for your family. He said he didn't like going into that dark place and stuff. But I'm like, that's cool. But are you just going to play this like your Fall Guy character over and over again, but like now I'm in space and now I'm in other space, and it's just like now I'm in this franchise. So I don't know. I worry about that a little bit, but I like Gosling a lot, so I think like it'll at least be fun. And we could always look at the other stuff like Andor, like Maul, like Mando Grogu, and have pull out what we want from those things. So Connor, you missed that. I was glazing shit out of Maul, so I don't know if you want to say anything if you're excited about that one or not.
I mean, you would have thought I took a Viagra when I found out the news.
Nice.
Good Lord.
Nice. That'll do it.
Oh gosh. I will say that the great thing about Project Hail Mary too, which is cool. I feel like that's gonna fill in the gaps that people have been missing from like a Star Wars movie. I don't think there's gonna be like lightsabers and stuff like that, but it's just I don't think it's a space adventure. I know it's written by Andy Weir, and Andy Weir made The Martian, which The Martian is a lot of science talk, and that's exactly what is in Project Hail Mary as well.
Did you read the book?
I've read like 100 to 150 pages.
I've got it with me. I think that's my wife is in labor book. Like if we're in there for a couple nights or something, I'm bringing that with in the backpack. But
there's a lot of science talk, so I don't necessarily know. I feel like that'd be a combination maybe of Andor and then like Star Wars. It'd be like a fun, maybe like sci-fi film, but
like
also
bombastic sci-fi. Yeah.
Exactly. But Craig Fraser, doing the cinematography, and they actually showed footage of it at CinemaCon. And some person that I really respect when it comes to the film space, his name's Sean Fennessy, the host of the podcast. He's basically just like, dude, it looked like a fucking movie. That's the only thing I can say. It looked really good, and I don't doubt it with Craig Fraser. It's just crazy that it's being directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who made 22 Jump Street and like the Lego movie,
and
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
And
I'm looking at all. They directed those movies.
Spider-Verse.
Hold on, they didn't direct the Spider-Verse movies. They
wrote
produced them.
Okay, I think
they wrote them. They did. They
Okay.
wrote Christopher Miller. I know
deal
that they
to
were
me.
involved with that. Sorry.
The Spider-Verse movies are a big deal to me, so I'm in on that.
I'm saying
Sean,
they
you and I are
wrote.
meant to be best friends.
Yeah, I think so too, bro. I have the Across the Spider-Verse poster like over my desk.
It's funny.
So what
I
I'm
almost
saying-
walked one of these out for my Ahsoka poster before this episode.
There you go.
Oh, you're also wearing a Star Wars shirt too. Both of y'all are wearing a Star Wars shirt. I only have one Star Wars shirt. It's Queen Padme Amidala, and I've texted Sean about my shirt though because basically I got it from Culture Kings and it's fading. I'm not drawing it anymore.
I think you wore that for our prequel episode.
I probably did. I don't have like, oh, you know what? I do have a sweatshirt back there, but I don't want to be hot as hell. So in that closet.
You already are.
Appreciate that. Let's talk about something that was hot as hell when it came out the gate as well, and that is A New Hope. I mean, I thought it'd be an interesting, bit to get into, just talking about the opening. What is it? Scroll? How do you say scroll? Scroll? Like, what is that
Crawl.
called when it crawl? Right, crawl. When it comes to A New Hope. So I can read that off real quick if you guys want. Let's see here. What did George announce to everybody back in 1997? Let's see here. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm not prepared. It has given me a lot of bullshit that I don't want to know. Okay, hold on. It is a period of civil wars in the galaxy. A brave alliance of underground freedom fighters has challenged the tyranny and oppression of the awesome galactic empire. I feel like that's included, but striking from a fortress hidden among the billions of stars in the galaxy. Is this right?
During the battle, rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, an armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races home aboard her starship, custodian of the stolen plans that can save her people and restore freedom to the galaxy.
I will say, how did you find that so fucking fast? But then
I
also,
pulled it up on Disney Plus.
why did I get the Chat GPT version of this? it says the awesome galactic empire, and I'm like, I don't think that he included that.
Is that the White House's website or what?
For real? Oh
So-
gosh. Well, I think this is just a synopsis of what an opening crawl is. Oh well, whatever. Yeah, A New Hope. It's pretty fucking good. I mean, I was wondering how we're going to talk about these movies, right? Because unfortunately, I do think there is one that a lot of people commonly say is not as good as the others, but also, I mean, can we just like spit out facts? Because like usually when it comes to these movies, we just spit out facts like, oh, I did this research, that happened, this character did that, that little tidbit right there, that means this. But people who listen to this episode, and I feel like you guys already know all of that. So I feel like we should like maybe center this discussion around why these movies are so great, like the structurally, what parts of them have lasted over time. And I would just say, me personally, just want to say one quick like thing that I think of right away is I just think that the world is so right away expansive, and you just feel like it's so large and you cannot wait to explore more of it. Like you wanted a sequel right away when you talked about this. I think there's only Tatooine in this, right? You only see one planet.
No.
Is that false? What other planet do you see in this?
Is Alderaan?
I don't think you see on.
Oh, you see the outskirts of Alderaan. That's what I meant. My bad. I was just thinking in the what?
The pieces.
The pieces of Alderaan. Okay, that's a dark joke, but yeah. So I think that especially they capitalized on that when it came to Empire Strikes Back. But yeah, I think that the creatures they show, when you're in the Mos Eisley Cantina, everything like that, there's so much detail in making sure that this feels like a lived-in, breathed-in world, excluding all the fucking CGI. Sorry, George. I still hate. Luckily, I watched these on VHS, so I didn't have to see that. But I do know that that's a part of these, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I just like how this just feels like a lived-in galaxy that is far away. That you're just like you're seeing a snapshot of.
I'm really happy you brought that up because I didn't watch these on Disney Plus. My dad has, I don't remember what anniversary it was, but it's like this trilogy and like a gold box set that he's pretty much going to let me just take. So I don't see all the CGI stuff. And then I went through and rewatched them all on Disney Plus so I could compare.
Dang, you watched each of these 2 times in preparation for this episode?
Yes. Besides Return.
Why the fuck am I talking? Connor, are these good movies or aren't they?
I think, they speak for themselves. They stand the test of time. They've gotten the most toxic fan base ever to back them and also hate them in every step of the way. A New Hope almost started a war in a different country in real life. So, I think they did.
Can't top that.
Did you know about that, Stone?
I think you had mentioned it before, but do you want to give the details on it?
I
Do you
feel
know
like
the
I've
details on it?
definitely talked about it. I want to know, Sean, since you're the biggest Star Wars fan outside of me on this podcast today, did you know that?
I've heard of it. I don't know the lore behind it too much.
Okay, so basically in Tunisia, a sandcrawler, like a large prop used in the movie, almost sparked real life war between Tunisia and Libya. The Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi mistook the sandcrawler for a military vehicle and threatened Tunisia with war, believing they were prepping for an invasion. George Lucas, the director, ultimately moved the production away from the border to avoid the conflict.
George is a real one, for real. What a stand-up guy.
Sparking rebellions all over the place, that guy.
But I don't know, Sean, what stands out the most to you about A New Hope?
So when you go back and watch, it's the practicality. It's kind of like the timeless feel. It's the classic hero's journey, which now has been done over and over again, and will continue to be to the end of time. Obviously, it's just one of the big storytelling structures. But like this is kind of the classical or like more modern take on it, I guess you could say. The aesthetic of this is what I think was so interesting from George, is that like he didn't want these movies to look like clean space. Like I was reading that, like A Space Odyssey came out around this, and there were all these other space movies that came out that were adored and clean and sterile and crisp, and that's fine for a different type of movie. But I think like especially with Star Wars and the original trilogy, like the fact that it's dirty as hell, like it's futuristic, but it's grungy, it's dirty, like it's not cool fancy shit. It's like, I know there's a term for it, it's escaping me right now, but I just think the overall aesthetic of these movies is excellent. Really committed to it as well. And then when you go back and watch the prequels, like we did a couple weeks ago or months ago, that you see it kind of helps tell the story of like the galaxy wasn't in a pile of shit before. Like it used to be like a little prettier and everything was a little more sterile and new and fun. And then as the Empire takes over, you can see, that world kind of starts to crumble. So I think it's an excellent choice. And whenever I rewatch it, I just feel like home in these stories.
That's like the biggest thing for me is like, we're from the generation of the prequels. Like none of us grew up, with the original trilogy era. But for me, I didn't really watch the prequels as much growing up. And like when I was home from school sick, I would be watching these movies with my dad. So I think these movies hold more nostalgia to me than the prequels do, even though I'm not from that era. And then it like really bothered me this week though, revisiting both DVD and now Disney Plus. And like it was done before Disney Plus. I'm not going to blame Disney for that. But
it was done in 2011, I think, is when George got his little sausage fingers on it.
Yeah, and like the CGI just stands out so much. Like what Sean was saying, because obviously that was I think my biggest complaint with Phantom Menace. I have a lot of complaints for Phantom Menace, but the CGI looks atrocious. And like the CGI doesn't hold up well, and obviously they can't know that from the time they did it, but it doesn't feel necessary to the story. Anything they add does not feel necessary. Like in New Hope, they're adding, stormtroopers that are riding on different animals just around Mos Eisley that we don't need. That doesn't add anything to the story. There's no depth. It's not giving you more lore on stormtroopers. You don't need it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not
Yeah, I
needed,
agree.
but he's always trying to like edit his shit. I always think that's funny that he's just like, there's never any true vision on it. He's just like, let me touch this up real quick. Let me do this real quick. I don't know. It's funny.
Which
Well, I think that's the sentiment that I think Steven Spielberg never watches his own films because I feel like it's so tough because you notice all the mistakes. I think probably George saw so many things in this movie that he wanted to add at the time, but just couldn't because
Well,
technology was not as advanced as it was. So he's just like, no, this is what I wanted this movie to be. So he adds all that. But then essentially you have two clashing styles that have like 20, 30 years apart from one another, and it really stands out. So I'm surprised that his eyes weren't more open when he did that, but that's just how it is. We got to live with it.
agreed.
But
This is just a great movie. It's hard to really, unless we go bar for bar, I feel like it's really hard to like get into this movie, but it's excellent. The character moments, is it corny? Yes, but that's kind of Star Wars. Like I just like it's crazy to think about. This is the first that launch padded maybe the biggest franchise in the world, and like this set the tone for everything. And the fact that this came from like one dude's mind who obviously had a ton of inspiration from other things, but it's just I always just come back and watch A New Hope and I'm like, this dude's a psychopath.
Which is funny because he didn't think that it was really going to do anything. He kind of made it as like something like he wanted to do, thinking it would just be a one-off, and then like the nerds of the world showed up.
They always will. If you build it, they'll come.
Stone, I'm sorry, I know you said not as many fun facts, but do you guys know how Harrison Ford got casted in this?
it was just like a carpenter, right?
Yeah, so he had
Working on
acted in
set.
Yeah, he acted in a couple things, but then and worked with George Lucas in the past, and like didn't think acting was going to work out for him. And he was doing some carpentry work on Lucas's house when he was having actors come and read the script at his house to audition, and he didn't have anyone like to read with them, so he was having Harrison Ford read with or as Han Solo, and then just casted him. And obviously, Ford's career has turned into one of
The Red Hulk, baby. Hell
I
yeah.
think
That's what he'll be remembered for.
That's not the one that coming to mind.
No, that's number one performance right there. Love it.
I still haven't seen that movie.
Neither have I.
It's nothing. It's nothing really that you need to see right now, I guess. Maybe for Doomsday. You have to watch like 70 movies when it comes to Doomsday. But Harrison Ford, yeah, I mean, guy's fucking sexy, man. It's not Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom type of sexy with his shirt ripped open. He's got those 3 stones. He's like, I'll drop him. Now that's like exalted as like Mount Rushmore, sexiest man of all alive coming to the silver screen. But I think he's just so charismatic, and he's just out of everyone, he has such a presence. As soon as he pops on screen, like, who the fuck is this guy? I can only imagine watching this in 1977 because nobody knew him. And they're like, damn, he's cool as hell. And then they know that, right? And that's exactly why they cast him. And he hits the comedic beats. I feel like really, I'm trying to think about it. He's like the only person in this movie, I think, that really there's comedy written for him, and he nails it. I don't think Luke or Leia are really that funny in this. They're more serious and adventurous. But I think the reason why Han Solo is written that way is because he's been here before, so he's done things like this, so he doesn't have to take this as seriously, even though he knows he's kind of in some trouble, but he's like, yeah, I'll get out of it.
I think the only person who may have had like comedy written for him, and then we can decide if
C-3PO too. Sorry.
We can decide if this was written as comedy between the three of us, but like Alec Guinness getting the line like, well, of course I know him. He's me.
Yeah.
Like
he had some in there for sure, like some of that like old man charm. But I don't think these movies work without Harrison Ford. Like I truly don't think like because it's a good movie, but if you take him out, I don't know if the pull to it is the same. Like because the second he gets introduced, you walk into the bar, your eyes are still kind of open and the wonder is there, but you're still kind of like, all right, where are we going? Where's the next step of this journey? And then you kind of don't care about the next step of the journey once Han Solo pops on screen because you're just like enveloped in this dude like having a standoff with Greedo randomly, and you just like instantly in this world with him where you're like, who the hell, like you said, Stone, who the hell is this guy? Like he's cool as hell. Like that's exactly what he is. He is cool as hell. He's Harrison Ford, just like being like a stuck up, like, know-it-all scoundrel, man, and it's great. Like I just love the archetype that he built in this.
Who you calling Scruffy?
Scruffy.
I'll say one thing I noticed too that I think modern movies have a big problem with is there's not a lot of characters, which I really like. It keeps the movie very focused. There's basically just obviously Han, Leia, and Luke. Then you have Vader. He's way more of a character in the Empire Strikes Back than in this movie. You have Tarkin in this, which takes more of the leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they're all together and with Chewie and C-3PO, like, the movie is about them coming together, right?
Yes.
It's about C-3PO and R2-D2 meeting Luke, and then they meet Han, and then they meet Leia, and then they're all together. I think that beat for beat, that really helps the movie flow together. And then they're separated for just like a short time at the very end. But I like that there's nothing beyond them, if that makes sense. Even though this is a large world, this feels like a very concise story. And I'll never get over the fact that the way that they opened up this movie, obviously, is with Vader, storming on the ship, trying to get the plans from Leia and kidnapping Leia. And then she sends up R2-D2 and C-3PO. But I'll never get over the fact that we followed those robots for a while. And it's just the two of them, and it's them exploring Tatooine. I think that's such an interesting decision. Like, you're going to find out more about this world through these guys. I think that's a big baller move that really works. And I just think it's super impressive, especially like C-3PO is kind of fucking annoying sometimes, but you grow to tolerate him as they did in Empire Strikes Back. Now, to be fair, they just turned him off in Empire Strikes Back sometimes, but he's not too bad in this movie. Empire Strikes Back, I just got done watching it. She's like, the odds are 154,000 to 1. And Han's just like, shut the fuck up, bitch. Yeah. Sorry.
It's funny you were talking about like screen time and who we follow, because Vader only has 12 minutes of screen time in this entire movie.
That's something. He's not that like big of a. That's what's so, because you want to know more about him. That's why Empire Strikes Back is so good. And I don't want to talk about that movie, but everything that you want more of, it's just Empire Strikes Back's like, there you go.
That's kind of like one of the questions I want to ask you is, do you guys feel like this works with villains, or just, I feel like it only works with villains, not the, protagonists, if they have less screen time? Because it kind of, if they're written well and the scenes they're in are good, it kind of just builds their aura and leaves you wanting more with them. Whereas I feel like some movies nowadays, like, we're just getting like a ton of the villain, because like it seems in the modern era of media, we are getting a lot of like people who want to see more of the villain. Like, I mean, I just finished Invincible, and like every Invincible video and clip and edit on TikTok I see is all about Omni-Man, not Mark. So
is Omni-Man a villain?
He was. He's adapting now.
Well, I don't know when he gets back, or if he gets back. It's going to be a very interesting discussion.
But I agree with that, and I do think that like Darth Vader's kind of corny in this movie. Like he's not
hand on hips. What's going on, everybody?
Hips, and he's like, you like the hand pointing, and I'm like, all right. And then obviously in Empire they tone it down. Like I feel like they really get him right in Empire, because if this was just him in this, I don't think I really care about Darth Vader too much. Like there's enough there to get you to chew on, where you learn about a little bit of the backstory where he's like, I haven't felt that presence since, and then he has the standoff with Obi-Wan, and like there's enough there for you to be like, what is this dude's backstory? And they tease you enough with Luke and his dad and whatever. Obviously you don't find that out here, but there's enough lore there where you're just like, all right, I'm here to chew on it. But Vader himself in this movie doesn't really do too much for me. Like, it's not a villain that's pushing the plot. The villain there's almost no villain. It's just the Empire. And it's just like Luke's story, the hero's journey of him, like getting off the planet and like finding, like, it's like a little kid, like, it's like the perfect, like, Harry Potter, you're a wizard, now you're in this world, or you're a Jedi, now you're in this world. Like, it's just like a very simplified version of that. And I think this is all about Luke finding out who he is, and I could really care less about the villain, whereas Empire is like, all right, now let's get into the weeds here, and it seems like that's kind of how they wrote it too.
I completely agree, because I was thinking about that. Connor, I get what you're saying. It's like sometimes it really works if you barely see a villain at all and they don't have a whole lot of screen time. Like I would say Death in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish doesn't get a whole lot of screen time at all. You just feel the presence there all the time.
Goated.
Very good villain. But same as Sean, I don't think Vader is that intimidating in this. And if he was, maybe that would work. Maybe the short amount of screen time. I mean, I would just ask you this: is Vader better in this movie or Empire Strikes Back? 10 times out of 10, I think everyone's going to say Empire Strikes Back, and they work with him very well there. Just speaking of Vader and the fact that you said he's goofy for a little bit, I will say my one issue with this movie, and it's a big issue, it's dock off half a star. I've got it at 4.5 out of 5. Is I don't think the lightsaber fight is very good. I know and you can say it's a product of the times, but Empire Strikes Back was 3 years later, and that blows this out of the fucking water. It is insane how much better that is than this. And I think maybe a lot of it, unfortunately, has to do with Alec Guinness and his age, and that's just how it is. But maybe they didn't realize how, when they fight with their lightsabers, how much the audience was going to connect with that. Like, oh shit, we want to see more of that, because it's really not a huge focus of the story, right? It ends with them trying to destroy the Death Star, which is a great finale. And the fact that after him disappearing is very interesting. The fact that Vader just waves his lightsaber through him and he disappears. But I've always loved the fact that Vader he's like, is he really gone? Let me step on his.
Yeah, he might be a little guy in this. Let me step on this real quick.
Yeah. I've always thought that was very, very funny. But yeah, the lightsaber fight is the only thing not working for me. And I also don't like that everyone's just chilling there watching. Even the stormtroopers like, what the fuck's going on over here? I was like, weren't you guys just fighting each other?
Two things on that.
Okay.
So the first one is the stormtroopers and everyone just standing around watching. It kind of makes sense because this was Star Wars before Disney and like George kept going with the story. And in this, they make the comment that it's Empire. They make the comment that Luke will be the last Jedi after Yoda passes. So I think it was just like the fact that like this is the first time they've really seen Vader fight like, another person who can wield a lightsaber in the same type of manner. So I think that might be, I mean, I'm splitting hairs here.
What do you think about the fight?
Right. It doesn't make sense for trained soldiers to stand around and watch a fight.
They're just chilling. They're like, this is pretty cool.
But there is a lot of stuff in the lore, and like especially the animated stuff, where like if they haven't, like the Jedi are extinct, people think they're a myth and all this stuff, and then they'll pop out and ignite the lightsaber, and then a bunch of people are like, what the fuck? And so like it is kind of in the world where if people see the lightsaber pop out, everyone kind of turns and is like pauses. I'm not defending the moment because the fight sucks, but
we see that at Mos Eisley too.
True. Yeah.
I think that lore, when it comes to Star Wars and how much has been written on it, can sometimes cover up mistakes. Right?
Oh, that's all it is. That's all Star Wars is. Yeah.
Exactly. 1977. Why would stormtroopers just sit there and watch it? Oh, you know what? It's because people were really amazed by lightsabers, and especially Darth Vader. They had never seen a blue one before, let alone a blue one done by a very old man, which is extremely rare in the galaxy, especially seeing them do it in such a tight little hallway. When one disappears like that, it is the coolest thing ever. Oh, you just erased that mistake, right?
Is that Dave Filoni talking? I don't know.
Why do you think we got the Obi-Wan show? It was so they could fill in the gap of Obi-Wan telling Luke that Anakin killed his father.
Someone yelled at me on TikTok the other day for being excited about the Maul show because they were like, we already know how his story ends. Like, I don't need to see this. And I'm like, that's all this franchise is. It's connecting the dots between major movies. That's all this is.
Guess what? That's what Andor is.
Exactly. Andor extinguishes that argument.
It's like every property is connecting the dots. Clone Wars, beloved, 2 and 3. Rebels, pretty beloved, between 3 and 4. Andor, going to go down as maybe the best Star Wars property of all time, between 3 and 4. Like, that's all this series is. And I love it for that. It takes away a lot of the mystery. It takes away a lot of that kind of stuff. But fuck it. Let's over-explain every part of this franchise. I'm into it. So
why do you think there's talks of Daisy Ridley getting another movie?
So they can over-explain and be like, oh, well, here's why she's actually a Palpatine. Like, here's how that happened. Or like, exactly. And that's how this all happens. And so if they want to go back and explain like, oh, this is why, Obi-Wan at that time was hardly fighting because he actually wanted this to happen. And, the Force Ghost stuff, like whatever. I'm okay.
I was going to say, that's kind of what I was going to get back to for Stone was like the Star Wars lore bullshit. You can believe it. You cannot. I don't care one way or another. But basically Obi-Wan kind of needing Luke to have that canon event almost.
Yeah.
And then like kind of him still defeating Vader in a way by just psychological warfare this time.
Teaching him another lesson, you know.
I do really love how this movie concludes. Like, obviously they recycle it in the sixth one, and then the seventh one. But I think it's really cool with the Death Star. Obviously, just seeing a huge space station that's a huge circle. I mean, just thinking about picturing that in your mind in 1977 would just blow us away. But the fact that, like I said, there's so many little things about the Force and about the Jedi that get sprinkled in here that you just want to see more of. Like, you didn't know that Obi-Wan could like project himself, right? You only hear his voice in the cockpit with Luke. And you're like, wow, I wonder if that's all there is. And then they show you even more in Empire Strikes Back. And I do think that George Lucas does have this bigger vision for this world. Obviously, I mean, he did leave this as a sequel. He's like, if people really want to see more, I've got a lot more to tell. And he told it very well with a lot of great detail. But yeah, I just think that you can't help, especially if like you're a young guy back then, like you can't help just being like, this is maybe one of the coolest things I've ever seen, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you said, it's just about that. It's all about what you said, Sean. It's like not keeping it clean, like what George Lucas did. It's the fact that this is gritty. I can't get over that enough. Most Eisley, the cantina looks so dirty. It looks so disgusting,
which
and
makes it look better and
costumes,
timeless. Mm-hmm. Like that aesthetic makes this feel, because if like the prequels will not age as well, they're already not, as the original trilogy, because it looks too pristine, it's too polished, there's too much CGI. Like it's not going to age the same way that the original trilogy does, because it's not as authentic, and that's fine. That's the vibe they went with. It's the whatever, but I think that's just why people love the original trilogy so much.
Yeah,
John Williams is good, by the way.
John Williams, good, confirmed.
Yeah. The best score of all time.
Yeah, we don't even need to mention that. Like that just goes.
I still like John Williams over Hans Zimmer, but
fair. Yeah, I mean,
is this John Williams' best? Probably.
Maybe
it's hard. I'd say most iconic.
I mean, he's done so many. It's really tough. It really is tough.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, this Star Wars as a whole. I mean, this and what is it? The Imperial March in Empire Strikes Back.
That's my wife.
Oh, geez. Hope everything's okay.
That's a movie reference.
Oh, my bad. I thought it was just like, my wife's coming. Dun, dun, dun. That's what I thought it was.
No, I love my wife.
Okay. Confirmed.
Yeah, confirmed. Just like John Williams.
I think we can kind of close up New Hope here soon if you guys want to, but I think one of my biggest gripes with New Hope, I'm not the biggest Luke Skywalker fan.
Oh, I was going to get into this. I was going to ask you this question.
Okay, only because in New Hope, dude, he is so whiny.
He needs that though. I would think everyone's like, my power converter, right? Everyone's like, who is this fucking kid? He's really annoying. But I think you really need that in the three movies. When you see Luke in Return of the Jedi, he's unrecognizable from what he originally was. And if he was that cool, sophisticated guy back in A New Hope, it wouldn't have worked. Also, you have to bounce him off of Han Solo. You cannot have two characters that are the exact same. You have to have this immature kid who doesn't know shit from shit, right? And you have to show him the ways of the Force. We are the audience, right? We don't know anything about anything.
You feel like they let it go a little bit too far though, because even the one that I really hate that I always come back to is when they're in the fucking rebel war room and they're like, that's impossible. And he's like, no, it's not. I shoot fucking rats in my T-16 at home on Tatooine. It's like, shut the fuck up, Luke. Like that is the one unnecessary thing. It's like, you've seen enough at this point that you should probably just sit on your words. I don't know. Like that one always gets me. I'm like,
I'm so happy you brought this up. Do you know what size the Wampas are on Tatooine that he's shooting that makes it so impressive?
No, actually.
They're 9 feet tall.
Well,
how big's what's the hole that they launched the projectile?
It's the same size. He says it's the same size as a Wampa. A lot harder in space when you're getting shot at, and it's like
in a starfighter while getting shot at by Darth Vader. Yeah.
But hitting a 9 foot long object, not a tough task.
Idiot. I will say I agree. What is it? The swamp rats?
Wampas.
Wampas. My bad. Not swamp rats. It has to be some Star Wars animal. I agree that he shouldn't have said the Wampas line because I feel like it doesn't mean as much when he's in the cockpit, right? And he's being challenged about possibly making the shot. And then Ben Kenobi talks to him, is like, bro, you could do it, kind of a thing. He said he could do it earlier. So I think if you subtract that line from this, then that ending is a lot more powerful. Switch that, right? Maybe he's like, man, I don't know how we could do this, rather than him being cocky, be like, oh, yeah, I did that back on Tatooine, you know. I think if you leave that out, it makes the finale even more a little just
impactful. Like he's questioning himself
better.
a little bit more. Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever. I just like the bitch about that line. That's because I think it's hilarious. Mark Hamill's delivery is like great.
I love Mark Hamill in this. I love Mark Hamill's casting. I think he's an exceptional actor, especially in Empire Strikes Back.
The way he walks in this, do you guys like clock that at all? Where he's always just like, I don't know. I feel he's like dragging himself around in this. Like he's like, I know he's supposed to be a young kid, but I'm like, man, he's acting like a toddler in this sometimes. Like just like huffing and puffing and dragging his feet, and like I'm like, all right, dude, like you look like you're 20. Like I don't know, go get a job.
It's very interesting, the argument too, that these were made for children. Like they do feel like that, but then also maybe the definition of a children's movie was different back in 1977.
Over time,
yeah, because they literally burn alive his aunt and uncle, and their corpse are just laying there. I'm like, you would not see that in Kung Fu Panda 4.
That
like,
is a quick switch, by the way. I'm glad you brought that up. That like his switch from seeing them be burned alive to going back and being like, I want to go with you. Let's go. Like I was like,
that is true.
That could have added like maybe like a burial scene or something. And I know I guess they kind of are like when they're doing it, but like it's one little devoted, like remorseful, this is kind of my fault scene would have done a little bit more for me there.
Do you think any of that stemmed from like maybe George or the writers or the producers like worried that maybe Mark Hamill can't deliver an emotional scene? Because this has to be his first big acting credit, right? Like, I don't know, but
I think he's a good actor. I'm sorry. I think he would very much be able to deliver an emotional scene. Maybe out of fear, yeah. I get what you're saying.
Number one Luke defender over here, man.
I think Mark Hamill's a very good actor, especially in the second movie.
He's good in these.
Saying. I would say it'd be funny if like he gets all mad that they burn alive and he goes like kill some Tusken Raiders, like the children and the women too.
Like, oh my god, he's just like his dad.
Imagine watching like the second movie, they're like, whoa, dude.
Obi-Wan just having war flashbacks, like Vietnam flashbacks in that moment. Yeah.
Oh Lord. But yeah, we could talk about Empire Strikes Back. But you guys both had this at like a 5 out of 5, the original?
No.
I'm a 4.5.
I'm also a 4.5.
Connor's got like a 2.
No,
very critical.
Dude, I love New Hope. All right.
But is it as good as Empire Strikes Back?
4.5 though. So
is it as good as the sequel?
I'll tell you this: Empire is one of 8 movies I've ever given a perfect 10 out of 10. I don't think there's a flaw in this movie.
It's tough. I don't know what it is. Like I've said it many, many times, it improves on everything. And I'm going to open this the same way that I opened up A New Hope, just saying they visit, I think, 4 planets in this movie. I think 4 planets. And all of them are so different. I know we have Cloud City. We have,
Endor.
Is it Endor?
No.
Is it Dagobah? Where's Yoda at?
Yes, Dagobah.
Look at that baller fucking knowledge. And then obviously Hoth. And then I think there's one more. But anyways, the fact that these, especially when you get to Cloud City, Hoth is cool. It's cool. It's snow though. We've seen snow before. At least if you live in the north. Maybe if there's like a bunch of Floridians, like, wow, look at that snow, you know?
And there's also not much you can do on Hoth.
No, but Cloud City, that's a pretty cool planet. And just thinking about that idea in general, like, let's just do all clouds and just stick some buildings right in the middle of it. We won't explain how they float there, but they're just going to float there.
Honestly,
I'm sure there's something in the lore that says why they're there. But
honestly, Disney, give me like a horror movie that's centered around the creatures of Dagobah.
Well, did you hear the news from Tony Gilroy that they're already developing some type of horror movie in Star Wars?
That's kind of what I'm getting at is at least give me 20 minutes on Dagobah of that, at least.
I could see that. And I think like the cool thing is that they're like, oh, you liked Tatooine. Now we're going to go Tatooine and cockpits of ships. Now we're going to go to 8 fucking planets. And you're going to love every single one because I have money now. And like, they just flex that so hard right out the gate. Boom, Hoth. like you said, Dagobah, boom, crazy swamp planet. You know, you got the Cloud City. Like, there's probably 2 more in here that I'm forgetting. Like, they just went nuts with this, and I don't know. It's excellent world building. This is like maybe some of the best like first movie to second movie world building I've ever seen. Because a lot of other first movies give a lot more in that movie and then continue the journey, whereas the first movie in this is just kind of like the plate setter, and then the second movie really does all the heavy lifting.
I'll say one critique of Andor, right, is I think even though it's shot very practically a lot of times, especially season 2 doesn't miss a beat with that. We already watched 3 episodes of season 2. I wish that it included something like this. I feel like every single planet that they go to looks very much like Earth. It looks beautiful the way that it's shot, but you've never seen really a planet in Andor where you're like, dude, what is this place, right? And I think that's something that's just missing.
I kind of disagree on Andor. We don't have to get into that, but I think you didn't think like some of the ones they showed these first 3 episodes, no spoilers for Connor,
I mean, obviously we've seen one before. That's as close as a spoiler I'll get to, but I'm trying to think where he's at. I mean, the first one that he's at is kind of just a snow planet. I don't think it was that.
It was sick though.
Yeah, it wasn't as put together as Hoth was. It was very interesting. And then, I mean, where Mon Mothma was, it kind of just reminded me of the casino planet on Last Jedi. Is what it kind of made me think of. So, I mean, how much can you do with the planet too, right? Let's do fucking Avatar. Let's do air. What we got? Cloud City, right? We got water. We got Camino. Look at my baller, Mustafar, and then you have a bunch of like dirt planets, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how much more you can do, but I just like planets. I'm just like thinking about the fact like I'm gonna create this entire world, and I'm gonna put people there, and I'm gonna figure out how they function and where they function and what they function. I don't know what that means, but
yeah,
I think Camino is like one of the planets I care the least amount about.
I love Camino.
Camino's sick, especially that they just clone people there.
Just a ball of water.
The aliens are sick there. I was gonna say the aliens are cool.
I agree. Kaminoans are cool, but they don't exist anymore. So,
oh, what a baller knowledge that was. What are they called?
Kaminoans.
Kaminoans. All right, I didn't know that.
Jeez.
Here you go, Stone. Let's see if you know this trivia. I think Sean might. Do you know who directed Empire?
It's not George Lucas. I know that.
You're halfway there.
Okay, well, that's all I got, my guy. Sorry.
He tried.
Kirshner.
Yeah, Kirshner. Do you know who Kirshner was? More ball knowledge?
He was an American film director and occasional actor, best known for directing quirky independent films early in his career, and then Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
I know he directed RoboCop 2.
I think
he didn't really do much besides
also
this.
George Lucas's teacher, I think.
Huh.
And I think that he did not. I could be pulling that straight out of fucking nowhere, but I think.
Yeah, let us know if Sean's wrong in the comments.
In the comments, yeah, drop a comment down below and tell me I'm a fucking idiot. That he didn't want like anyone who was like gonna like who knew how studios worked and like would obey the evil overlord. That he like went with someone that he knew that they would like properly make something he wanted with his vision, and he didn't want to go get like a new hot name because he probably could have gotten a lot of different people at this time to make a movie like this after the success of the first one. So I think that's kind of cool, and he kind of just acted as the showrunner. Like it's not a show, but it's just like he's the lore keeper of these movies now. He's not just the director of them. So from what I have read and stuff, he basically directed them. He was just like kind of just like. He would just have to leave occasionally to be like, oh no, I got to go work on these like minifigure sets to build this or this CGI for something or whatever. Like there was so many other things going on. They're not just on Tatooine anymore. So there's a lot more at hand, but yeah, this movie rocks.
What I think is really impressive about it too, just having just watched it, is obviously it's over 2 hours, just over 2 hours long. Not a whole lot happens, but it doesn't feel like that. I'm just thinking about Han and Leia and Chewie and their storyline. They escape Hoth, and then 70% of this movie is them just trying to get away from, Imperial Star Cruisers, and they're just like, oh, dodge! Oh, they're getting us again! Oh, meteor shower! Let's go! And they keep it really entertaining, and especially the fact that, I mean, everyone's character arc in this, when it comes to the 3, and even Vader, is really good. I love that Vader this is the movie where Vader becomes a really good villain, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't need what you have in the sequels, which what I hate is, who's the red hair guy in the sequels? Come on, what's his name?
General Hux.
Yeah. Hux thinks he's intimidating, or Disney thinks a villain is intimidating if they yell. It's always been a huge problem of mine. If you scream at someone, it means you're an insecure little person, in my opinion. It means you're not confident in yourself. So why would I be scared of you?
Put it in German and it sounds pretty scary.
I don't know that. I'm so
His
sorry.
speech in Force Awakens goes hard when they light up the whatever. We don't have to get into that, but that's fair. I do think like to add on to your point about like Vader getting scary, like the cool and I almost forget it when I'm watching this movie is like the introduction of Vader again, where they're just like, all right, here's all these Star Destroyers. It looks crazy and whatever, and then they pull up on like the fucking dreadnought that he has, or the Emperor ship. I forget what it is. Like it's like the super Star Destroyer, basically, where it's like basically the size of like 30 normal Star Destroyers that looked like the scariest thing ever in the last movie. They're like, nah, Vader controls one of these that like they can all live in, essentially. He's like flying on a planet around, and it's just like, I just think that introduction is cool. They just elevate everything so much in this to the point where it's just awesome. Like they just, I don't know. They just build on it.
I'm so happy you brought that up because I meant to bring this up on New Hope, but it stands true for both New Hope and Empire. I think they're two of the greatest intros of all time. I'll put New Hope above it because it started it, but I just think literally after the opening crawl of the words and then you just see the Star Destroyer come into frame over top of it, I think it works so well.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, you're right in.
My favorite thing to think about, though, when I do watch Empire is Vader thinking about the Millennium Falcon and then Han Solo. And he's got to be like the scariest guy in the galaxy to Vader, right? He has no idea who this dude is, but he pulled up on a ship with his son, his old master, both of his old droids, and his daughter. He has no idea who this dude is, but he also shot him out of the sky, or almost did, during the when they were trying to blow up the Death Star. And then he's also escaped the Empire on multiple occasions. Han Solo's aura in Vader's head has to be just insane.
Rent free.
It might be like a Skywalker thing, like Leia's into him. Luke really likes him. If Vader got close, everyone's attracted to Han, basically. He's scruffy looking. He's a scoundrel. I mean, what's not to love? I mean, Lando, though, when Lando comes by, that's a smooth operator right there. Tell you what. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just also, I think there's this whole thing. This is an annoying fact that I know that everyone knows, but do you know if they wrote in I'm sure there's a name for the monster, the one that like cuts Luke down at the very beginning and like fucks up his face, because I believe Mark Hamill was in a car accident. And I think whatever the monster does to his face was purposefully placed that way it was cover up those scars. So basically that was written because that happened to him, right? I'm assuming.
I think it was originally planned for it to be in the movie. I just don't think it was going to do like real damage.
Oh.
And then that happened. So they were like, well, we already have this here. I think that's how it happened. Don't swear me on that one.
Yeah, I just like how Luke almost just dies at the beginning of this movie. I think that's what's like, yeah, he's not expendable. Like he's also he's also not invincible, right? That's the thing about Luke's character arc.
Yeah.
He does sometimes stuff that's not very smart, and he puts himself in situations, and he needs Han and he needs Leia. I mean, that's why. Just imagine this Luke different from Luke of Return of the Jedi. Two completely different people, but then the Luke in the beginning of this movie is completely different from when you first see him in Power Converters.
You like that high pitch, I can tell.
Yeah, I do. I like, Dan's pointed it out, I like imitating people. I do.
I love when you imitate people. By the way, Stone, I want to get this out here too. You've made the comment a few times that people come to listen to our podcast for Dan. I want you to know, when my wife takes because she doesn't have TikTok, but she'll take my phone and scroll TikTok, she goes to our page and skips me and Dan and only watches your clips.
On our TikTok page?
Yeah, because she thinks you're funny. So like, watch it. But
I'm scruffy looking.
Riz God.
Yeah, I have the fucking riz of a toad.
So Stone, stop saying people only come for Dan. You're important.
Well, I'm here and Sean's here for you, Connor. So that's why Goodwill Podcasting as a whole is the best podcast maybe on here. Now, Tatooine, Hoth, Cloud City. I mean, Lando and Han, they might have a discussion. How much money did you get from this deal today? Might bring in Boba as a guest. That'd be kind of sick. So maybe we can't compete with that, but
You keep bringing up Cloud City.
I like Cloud City.
There is a scene that I'm sure we're all familiar with where they first get there and 3PO just sees a droid that looks like him, and then
3PO is so annoying in this movie. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. Wanders into the room with, or like where the droid came out of, and the droid there, after he says hello, says "Ichuta," and I was like, that's going to be fun to look up for what that means for the podcast and for our audience. You know what it means?
Fuck off.
They won't tell you because apparently it is so vulgar that they won't translate it.
How vulgar could it be? Really, come on.
You don't know droids, bro. Droids are crazy.
I guess.
Yeah. Stone don't know about Chopper.
I don't know what Chopper is.
You would love Chopper. You kind of got Chopper energy a little bit.
Does Chopper like Jabba the Hutt? Because that is one thing about these movies that I also really like is that Jabba the Hutt's introduced in A New Hope, and then that storyline, and I think basically Boba Fett is an extension of that storyline, right? You see him on board Vader's cruiser, and then obviously he follows Han and Leia and all that stuff. So he's basically an extension of Jabba. So I feel like that's such a good in the background storyline that in these first two movies that pays off exponentially, obviously at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. They don't need to do a whole lot. They drop you little bits and pieces here and there. And then obviously towards the end of this movie and the beginning of the next one, I think it's just really good writing. And it's just, you've created this scenario that you can use in a further film. But basically you need to start it off right at the beginning with Han. And I just think it's really solid work by George.
That's one thing so back when I was the Buttered Popcorn podcast without Stone and Dan, I did a kind of brief Star Wars episode with one of my buddies. And it's something I've brought up multiple times too. But like the generation that only had these three movies, it never made sense to me watching these why people think Boba Fett is such a badass character. Because like genuinely all we see from Boba Fett, we don't see anything really in New Hope. In this one, all we really see from him is he stands behind Vader. He takes away Solo and Carbonite. And then we're jumping ahead, obviously, but these movies are, 40 years old. Get on board if you haven't seen them. At the beginning of Return of the Jedi, he just flies out there, gets beat by a blind dude, and falls into a Sarlacc pit. And that's like all Boba Fett got in the original trilogy, and like people raved about him.
Now, I'm going to have a counter argument for this. I think the point that you were trying to make about Vader in the very first movie works with Boba Fett in this movie, and slightly in A New Hope, because you do see him just a little bit in New Hope, and then you see him in this movie. You barely hear a peep out of him. I don't think he even talks in A New Hope. But with this movie, the fact that he's able to he didn't do the work, but he's able to get Han Solo for Jabba and basically fend off Luke and get away. I think that just built up this and also his production design, like his costume is great. It stands out.
He's one of my favorite characters, but he doesn't really escape Luke all that much, and he doesn't really capture Solo. Vader does most of that work.
Yeah, I say A New Hope, and then you're like, oh, Empire Strike Back. He goes Return of the Jedi. I was like, oh.
And when there's characters that don't have a lot of stuff to do, but they look cool, fans will always write headcanon and imagine and make people much cooler than they are, which is potentially how we end up with shows like Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett. But
I like that show.
Oh my god, you and I could talk 3 hours and debate about that one another time. There's parts of it that are cool for sure. The Mando episodes. But
those are the only episodes I watched of that show, by the way.
They were good.
I was like, wait, Mando's in this movie? It's the stupidest decision ever. They're like, oh yeah, he finds Baby Yoda again or Grogu again in the middle of the Boba Fett show. That is such a baffling, stupid, idiotic, moronic decision. I have no idea who greenlit that. I think they were just like, man, Boba Fett's really struggling, or this show's not doing really hot, so let's just include those 2 episodes of Mandalorian.
They did it.
I think it stemmed from what they saw Marvel doing, and people were watching almost everything from Marvel at that time, because it was like 2021, so Marvel was still kind of slowing down, but they were still getting the views. And then I also think, along with that, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau wanted to keep Grogu away, but because Grogu sells so well, Disney stepped in.
This is confirmed pretty much.
And we're like, yeah, Disney stepped in and we're like, no, And then also, Stone, I don't know if you know this, that's supposed to be like a 6-year time gap between when Grogu was training with Luke and Mando gets him back.
Imagine seeing like teenage Grogu. I think it'd be so funny.
With the armor on, and he's like running around.
Yeah, we still don't know what species he is.
Well,
He's Yoda species, whatever that is, right?
We still don't know what that is.
Green guy. There you go.
Thank you, Stone.
You're welcome.
Stone, the Star Wars historian over here.
Yeah.
But
speaking of Yoda, I would say speaking of Yoda, I mean, we haven't really talked about Dagobah that much. I think it's pretty. I think it'd be pretty obvious watching this back in the day that Yoda is the Jedi Master. What do you guys think? Do you think people were surprised?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people are surprised. I mean, maybe like, no, I don't think people are surprised. It's kind of like common storytelling trope where it's like, oh, this guy will get me somewhere, but he's actually the guy. Like, maybe some people would be, but like, I think people kind of in tune with storytelling are like, all right, when's this guy going to show that he's the guy?
I think the only way it works is if in New Hope you don't have any non-human characters speak. Because then, like, this guy would come out and he'd be like, oh, he's not a human. Like, he's just a weird creature. Like, and even then, you still probably like, this is the Master Jedi.
Yeah. I don't think it's supposed to be like this big thing. I just think it's like a storytelling.
I think it's more of a reveal for Luke than it is for us.
Correct. Yeah.
It's funny just thinking about the script though, and what Luke needs to perceive this guy as in retrospect of how Yoda was designed, right? Because Yoda is specifically designed the way he is, at least the height that he's at, because we need Luke to basically think that he is not important, that Yoda is not important, that there's no way of someone that this size and this stature can be a Jedi Master. And it's so interesting to think about that. That, in my opinion, that's the only reason why Yoda is small, right? Is because we needed that dilemma. We needed Luke to think those things. And now it's carried on through many, many movies into a little baby version of him.
Yeah. There's a question I wanted to bring up with you guys now that we're on Yoda. Take away like how the movies look, and let's just say right now they're making a brand new Star Wars movie. We don't know anything about it, anything about any of Star Wars. It's part CGI, part practical effects. Would you rather have practical Yoda or CGI Yoda?
CGI.
I don't know. What I will say is the Yoda that they had in the Phantom Menace looked really like he was on crack. The original puppet that they had for Yoda looked awful. So I do like that they switched it with CG. I do like this Yoda a lot.
I'm sure there's some version you could do of both, like a hybrid where it's like sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that, or they touch it up, they polish it with CGI. But the puppet stuff just does like not super work for me when it's a character that has to move around a lot. Especially
it really works that he's old in this.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
yeah,
you don't.
He's old as hell. Exactly. Same thing with like the Last Jedi when he's in there and he's just kind of sitting on the rock or whatever next to Luke, and I'm like, I buy that because it's a puppet, it's whatever, and he's chilling. But like, if he's like when he's kind of more in his prime earlier, I think CGI is fine. But I think that's fair. And I like the Dagobah stuff. I think it does drag a little bit at some points. Obviously it's necessary, and I think it's interesting that like all these characters are apart in this one after like you love them so much together in the first one. The whole first movie is about getting together, and they kind of do that again in this one to a different degree. But I don't know, like every time I rewatch, I'm kind of just a little bored by the Dagobah stuff. I don't know if that's like a hot take or not. Like I'll own it. It's a 5 out of 5. I love this fucking movie. So bored relative to the rest of the movie. I'm kind of just like, all right, with the Yoda, like, not corny, but like the way he talks and bouncing around. I'm like, I don't know. It just doesn't always like make me super stoked, but I don't know. It's obviously got to happen. And a lot of it's great, but there's just like 1 or 2 scenes that I'd be like, let's shorten this or something. But
do you like the scene where he like kind of sees the dark side, sees Vader?
Yeah. That's Vader super interesting. Yeah. I think it's very
visual representation. Very smart.
And back then that was probably like mind blowing. People were like, what does this mean? So I think that's cool.
What do you guys think about Lando in this? Do you think
it's great?
Yeah. I mean, do you forgive him for what he did to them?
Yeah. I mean, he's just like, that's what he is. That's his character, I think what's really interesting about this, to kind of peel it back like for a second, I think the way that they wrote the second movie, Empire is that you have all the established characters, and then they peel it back, and it's like, okay, who's a new character they're going to tie to? What is something else that's going to like tether them into this world? And I think it's cool that like Han's new thing is and like another scoundrel from his past. You know what I mean? And like that's such an interesting thing. And it's like, who's Luke's tether going to be? Oh, he's going to be attached to Yoda because he's got to do Jedi shit. And like, who's Leia's going to be Leia? You know, so like I love that they do all that. And I think like tying and getting a little bit more into that underworld in Star Wars with the bounty hunters, with old people that like know Han from his past. I think it's great. And I think like, yeah, like you could be annoyed at him, but like, of course he's going to do that. Like that's Darth fucking Vader sitting there, and like he's going to die like Han, if he never met Luke, would be doing the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, where do you sit? What side of the table are you on?
Yeah, I forgot the fact that you do not see the Emperor in the first movie. Like I said, Tarkin's there, which I feel like Tarkin is more of the leader figure when it comes to the Empire rather than Vader in the first film. You really feel that. But then you get the Emperor for like a split second, and it just goes back to what we said. It just, like with Lando and everything, it just expands this world just a little more. And you're like, oh, there's one more guy. It's not just Vader. And it's obviously on purpose, because you need to, in this movie, you not only need to hint at that, but also hint at the fact that there might be some character change when it comes to Vader. You know, Luke is his son and everything like that. And I will say, I'm still on that Mark Hamill train. I will be on that Mark Hamill train till the day I die. That's Fire Lord Ozai. All right. An eye for an eye. Sorry, I'm just rhyming here. But his acting at the end of this movie, how much pain he is showing, and it feels raw and it feels real. And I think it's really done very well by him. And also, I wanted to give some love and respect to David Prowse, because he's the one actually in the bodysuit of Vader, right? Because it's James Earl Jones, but he's not the one actually in the costume. I think David's like physical acting during those sequences is very good. Like it genuinely seems like Vader wants Luke to be on his team so much just based on his body movements, like reaching out for him, desperately trying to convince him to join him. I think you really feel like he actually loves him, even though he's kind of clouded by the dark side. And when Luke takes that jump down that chute or whatever, Vader, I think, looks and feels defeated. Like he's disappointed at the results of what just happened just there. And I just wanted to give David his flowers, because I think that's really hard to pull off. I think Pedro Pascal has been doing that very well when it comes to Mandalorian, at least in season 1 and season 2.
You know, 4 people played Vader.
Well, in this one, it's just David. So, as that's what Letterboxd is showing me.
No, so it's yes, it was mostly David in this. It's David Prowse as this in the suit, James Earl Jones doing the voice, obviously, Bob Anderson doing the stunts, and Sebastian Shaw is the face in Return of the Jedi.
It is crazy they piece a character together like that, like Frankenstein him, you know?
Well, magic of movies, baby.
I'm pretty sure the last one added was James Earl Jones, because I think there's footage.
There was another voice
somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I think they just had David Prowse do the voice, and they were like, no, we need someone more powerful.
Yeah.
Bro, there's 5. My boy Hayden Christensen now is at the end of Return of the Jedi.
That is fair.
Look at that. Darth Vader.
Spoilers.
I'm saying, I feel like I'm like the Star Wars nerd in this conversation. Like I've pulled so much baller knowledge.
You're holding up.
You're welcome.
You knew you had to step it up after we did that prequel episode.
Yeah, I know we're kind of all over the. No. I was just gonna say I know we're kind of all over the place with this one too, but we haven't really talked about the scale in this either. We talked about like how they go to different planets and they look great, but like there's a lot in this movie where like it looks so much bigger than it was too. There's a lot of in the first movie where it's contained. Yeah, you see Tatooine and they, you know, they're in the desert, so they could like show like these big sweeping shots. But like everywhere else is very condensed. And in this, like when they're on Hoth, like dude, just like they're out in the snow and it like he zips on up into the AT-AT, just like it, and the camera's way back. You know, it's not like it's right on him, so it looks like these big moments happening and like these big battlefields and these big jungles. And I just wanted to shout that out too. And same thing with Cloud City. It's like they scale it back and it looks massive. And I just think that adds to the wonder of this movie a lot more too.
I say on that note, one thing that I also mentioned based on the scale is the asteroid field, right? You have the Millennium Falcon, which looks so small next to the Star Cruisers, but then, right, you take it in that asteroid field, you find this cave, and then you land it on this cave, and basically you have like a set there, and it's inside some type of creature, which you guys might know the name of. I'm gonna call it Lickitung. You know, a little Pokemon reference there, but
Look at what?
Lickitung. It's a really
I know. I just wanted
I
to
can't-
hear
yeah.
I just wanted to hear you say it again. So
That's what Lickitung is. If it did actually evolve, it would evolve into this thing in the asteroid field, which would be kind of sick. Just saying. Pokemon, you can take that if you want. A little idea for you. I don't think Lickitung does evolve. I think he's just one hit pony. I think, but
I'm not sure. It might be a 2 evolution, but
all right. I'm sure our Star Wars fans are wondering, so I'm gonna look it up real quick.
there's some crossover there.
Does Lickitung evolve? Yes. Oh man, he evolves into Licky Licky. Whoops. That's what it's called. I don't like that name, but no, Licky. Anyways, yeah, The Empire Strikes Back is pretty good movie.
Pretty good. 5 out of 5. Almost probably no misses in this. I know I said the Dagobah stuff kind of bores me to a point, but it's also probably because I've seen this movie 80 goddamn times. You know what I mean? So there's probably it's not my favorite part of this movie, but it is sick. The world building's great, and yeah, I don't know.
This can be a hot take. Ready? I think that the end lightsaber battle is the best lightsaber battle out of any of the movies. I know you two might be like, bro, Return of the Sith. Dude, they're just so in sync, man.
He's get the title right, so come on.
Yeah, come on, man.
I said Revenge of the Sith.
You said Return.
Oh, my bad. Jeez, I gotta stop pronouncing stuff wrong. But in Revenge of the Sith, right, I think everyone really likes that fight, and I think everyone gets caught up in the stakes of that fight, right? This is what 3 movies have been culminating to, Obi-Wan versus Anakin, and I'm not denying that. But I think the setting and how this looks is just a lot more raw and real, and I really feel it. Like, I really, really like where this is taking place, like right next to where he's going to freeze him in cryosleep or whatever he's going to freeze him in. But the colors are popping off, and they're pumping in all this smoke, and there's like sequences where you can't even see Vader's face. You just see his figure when he's standing on top of those steps. And there's this one little sequence that I love so much that just shows you the differences between their skills. It's when he kicks Luke down the stairs. It's so fast. He kicks Luke down the stairs. He tumbles down. And all of a sudden, just for a split second, Vader goes, whoa. He just like flies down the stairs. I'm like, damn. Like that's so cool. And then, Vader like kicks him in the little pit. And he's like, yeah, that wasn't that hard. Tune in next week, guys. But then you just see Luke just jumps up, and you're just like, oh, it's going even more. And then Luke crashes out the window, which was really cool. I don't know how they did that effect, but it looks really good. And then all of a sudden you have this giant chamber, and he falls down. I mean, I would say Mustafar is really sick. And the fact that, the structure itself is powering down adds so much to the worlds and the stakes of the fight, and adds for a lot of interesting set pieces, obviously. But I don't know. I think this has to be 1 and 2. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
I think
as far
this
as
is
live
my
action
5.
goes.
Oh, yeah. Eliminate all your animation love.
Okay. Then this is probably 3, 2. If I can't,
you said 3 for a second. What do you besides Mustafar? Oh, you're thinking of the Phantom Menace, aren't you?
no.
Oh, okay. I think this is better than Phantom Menace. I think a lot of the carrying of Phantom Menace is Duel of the Fates, and then also that Darth Maul has like a double-edged lightsaber, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" Like the combination of a double lightsaber and then also Duel of the Fates, I think just adds so much to that.
This is a hot Star Wars take, but I think a lot of Duel of the Fates is carried by how cool Darth Maul is and the double saber.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I think that fight is just those 2 pieces together, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" So,
yeah, it's top 5.
I need your top 5. I need your top 5. No, I can't. I cannot let this rest.
Saying we can't
Star Wars
animation.
No, you can't include animation. That's what I'm saying. You know,
Honestly, Stone, my number 2. This will be number 3. My number 2 will be from the Obi-Wan show, and it's the final fight between Vader and Anakin.
It's cool.
Boo,
It's cool.
boo, boo.
Okay.
Terrible take. Awful.
What do
take.
you mean? What do you mean, boo? Terrible take.
It's just not good. I mean, this just feels. I'm sorry. I like you asked the question earlier. CGI or practical effects.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of that final fight in Obi-Wan is a lot of CGI. And I don't like. I think the setting that they're at is very boring. It's just a bunch of rocks and everything. There's barely any color in it besides their lightsabers, which does add some, dramatic effect to it and does look beautiful at times, especially when it's shining against their face. But it's just like rock, 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 right? You've already had that fight too, right? You've already had that fight in Revenge of the Sith. So I think that it doesn't have as big of an impact seeing it in the Obi-Wan show. That's the only reason why they made the Obi-Wan show, was just to cover up a little lore thing. You guys know about it, but yeah.
Let me start this by saying I hope that both sides of your pillow are warm tonight. Yeah,
that's crazy.
I think you're wrong on that one, on that take. I understand your issue with the rocks. That's fine and all, but the emotionality behind it, Obi-Wan finally getting the closure from Anakin telling him that he didn't kill him and that Vader killed him, all of that is beautiful.
That's
the light
one of the best
beautiful.
moments in Star Wars.
The fact, and I was going to get to this in Return of the Jedi, but Ahsoka could only pull off the left side of his helmet. Obi-Wan could only pull off the right side. It was only his son that could pull off the full side and reveal Anakin again. So that ties in all 3 of those fights.
Where did that come from? That I didn't know that was a thing. Is that a lore? Like,
you're not a real Star Wars head. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Here's the thing. Let me ask you this, Connor. What is better, Obi-Wan or The Empire Strikes Back?
That's not a debate. It's Empire.
Obviously, there's something when it comes to the stakes of a film that I think adds to the intensity and just makes a final fight special, right? And I don't think what leads up to the final fight in Obi-Wan warrants the fact that that fight has a huge impact on you. That was already there, right? You didn't even need the whole show. That's what everyone says about that show, right? Is you just needed that final fight, just that final episode. And you didn't need everything with like Baby Leia and all that. You really didn't need that. So I think when you watch that show in full, it decreases the effect of that fight, which makes the fight worse.
I disagree.
You can't eliminate the 5 other episodes. You can't do that.
I agree. You should keep the 5. You can cut out some of the shit with Leia. I'm all down for that. You can cut out some stuff here and there. But the whole show is based around dealing with Obi-Wan's PTSD and how he has dealt with shit after Order 66 by himself. He still can't figure out how to talk to Qui-Gon. And so he's just living as a regular worker out in the fucking desert, trying to keep an eye on Luke, hoping nothing happens to him because that was his assigned role for the rest of his life. And then finally shit hits the fan and he has to come back and we see him build his powers back. I think that's a little rushed in the show. I'm not going to deny that at all. Like him holding back the weight of the ocean with the Force after not using it for so long and him being scared of it almost, kind of rushed. Leading through all of that though, and we're going to spend more time because we're going to get a season 2 eventually, learning more about him figuring out how to talk to Qui-Gon again, his PTSD, leading to that fight, connecting the dots of him taking off half, Ahsoka taking off half, and Luke taking off the full thing. It works phenomenally well.
You guys might just have to agree to disagree on this one. I'll be
Sean, what do you
tiebreaker.
think?
I'll be tiebreaker. That the fight rocks and the moment is one of the best things that's ever happened in Star Wars. The emotional moment at the end of it, just because I don't care if the rest of the show sucked. A lot of it did, but the characters have so much weight behind them with every other thing they've ever been in ever that it's okay. Like, yeah, the Leia stuff sucks. Some of the other stuff isn't the best pacing or the best written, but I think the PTSD stuff's good. And I think all of the Anakin Obi-Wan stuff is good. And there's enough there that you see in all this other lore and shows and comics that once you see the moment they finally have this together, it's a big moment. And I understand it's not going to be a big moment for everybody, but it is. And I don't know if I'd put the whole fight over this fight as far as this conversation goes. That moment though, that like, you know, where Anakin's just like, you didn't kill, like I did. And I'm just like, yeah, it's fucking excellent. Like tears falling down my face at 3 a.m. watching that, like, don't even care. But yeah, I don't know. Moments awesome, fights okay, fights good. Empire fight probably better. Not really. Don't care enough to argue one way or the other there, but I don't know. Top five. I
I
like
was
the
gonna say,
Dooku
I've been
fight a
arguing
lot.
this so
Revenge of the
hard.
Sith.
And I've been arguing this so hard, and like I still might put the Empire fight over it, but that's the one that I'm considering in my head that I'm going back and forth between for just live action fights. And honestly, what Sean just said will put and solidify Empire in 2 for me, because that moment in Obi-Wan, I'm with Sean, crying at 3 a.m. Like one of my favorite Star Wars watching experiences ever. But if you bring it down to moments, Luke finding out that Vader is his dad is the biggest moment in Star Wars, arguably.
Appreciate that. I do think that's a big part of this. All right.
And to bow tie this, the fact that they lose in this is awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will say that is one thing about the Empire Strikes Back that I really like is they never seem like they have the upper hand. All of them just say, I mean, I think the correct and the term is fucked like the entire time. Yeah. Right? They're just constantly on the run and they just keep on facing obstacles over and over again. One thing I totally forgot about, which kind of sucks, is the fact that the rebels are just gone. I guess they're probably wondering where Leia is and Han and Luke, but they just like dip out of Hoth and they're like, "Thanks, guys," and they just pop up at the end, or they find them at the end. Which obviously I think the time frame of this movie is probably just like a day or two, so maybe they weren't gone for that long. But I like that they're subtracted from the story. But yeah, we get them again. Yeah, they're just chilling, man. It's Vader doesn't want them. Vader wants Skywalker, which I think also adds to the fight as well. Like Vader doesn't care about anybody. He just wants Skywalker the entire time. And then Luke doesn't want anything. He just wants to kill Vader because he thinks that Vader is going to kill his friends. And then we get a good fight. So, all right, we can talk about Return of the Jedi now. Sorry, I mean that's Star Wars, man. That's Star Wars. I mean, there's so much of Star Wars. You got to debate.
I was gonna say, also for our fans, my number one fight, though, including animation, is Maul versus Ahsoka in Clone Wars.
John.
Yeah, by far. If you don't even watch the show, just watch those final 4 episodes of season 7, and you'll know why.
Speaking of, we'll get off of Clone Wars here really quick. But Disney bought Star Wars and gave us season 7 of Clone Wars, which I'm all about. Season 7 is like peak animation. The Clone Wars is my favorite animated show of all time. However, they wanted to be more inclusive with the characters in Star Wars, like the human characters. I'm all down for it. They gave us 2 Mexican characters for season 7, and they made them drug smugglers. What the fuck are we doing?
Were they drug smugglers? I thought they were just...
They were spice smugglers.
Maybe I guess not the whole time, right? They like pick up a job for it, but that's fair. There's a lot of stereotypes.
That was their like, yeah. So like Star Wars in all of them just has sprinkles of racism across everything, which is wild.
Classic. Just how Walt Disney would have preferred.
All right. Is there any of that in Return of the Jedi? Was George doing that at the very beginning with the original trilogy?
So
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. But Connor, you just you texted us that you had just watched this movie right before we jumped on. How's it working for you all these years later?
This is maybe my hottest Star Wars take. I like this better than New Hope. And I will admit this wholeheartedly. This is the movie across every movie I've ever seen that holds the most nostalgia for me. And that is why I have it so high.
Why?
And why this is the movie
what's nostalgic? Like what's the memory that you pull?
Well, so I think this one pulls a lot because I watched Star Wars at a really young age. My dad introduced me very, very young. So I think what it ties into is we watched this one a lot. It was this one or Empire. We didn't really revisit New Hope a lot. Like how I said, I was home from school sick. We would watch this or Empire. So I think this one has that going for it for me. And then also with how young I watched, I love Ewoks. That's obviously so appealing to kids. They're funny. They don't really have like they're violent, obviously, but like their violence is like funny, kind of cute violence. It's not, what they could be. So that obviously appeals to kids. That holds a lot of weight for me. And then I just really like all the stuff in the beginning with the Rancor and Jabba, Luke, faking everyone out by,
The beginning is
grabbing the
excellent. The beginning is maybe one of the best intros to a movie of all time. Like, I genuinely think that. Like, the whole slow burn. Like, I think it's excellent filmmaking.
Yeah. So I understand why 99% of people probably have New Hope over Return of the Jedi. For me, I'm going to tell you straight up, this is a lot of nostalgia for me. And over New Hope, I like this one a lot.
Movie's kind of boring.
I mean,
I
It's
love
really
after
you,
that
but,
whole rant, that whole like heartfelt rant Connor has, as Stone just comes back and he's like, "Yeah, it shit kind of sucks, actually."
yeah, and the
Bro,
fact
I
that
didn't
Stone
say it
didn't even stick
sucks.
around the list.
I had a pee. I'm sorry. I don't like the Ewoks. I can only imagine how interesting they would have been when you're a child. Like, oh, look at these little teddy bears that are just kicking the Empire's ass. That's cute. Oh,
Put a pause. How old were you when
sorry.
you first watched Star Wars?
I have no idea. So I had I don't know when I watched these movies, like the original trilogy. We never had them, I don't believe, in my house. Saw them sometime growing up, but I remember religiously I had the prequel trilogy, and I would fall asleep to those like all the time. But I don't know what age I watched these films at, to be honest.
Okay, continue.
I just think it's really, as a fan, maybe it would have been super disappointing because you got to think, right? This movie came out probably in 1983. I know Empire Strikes
80.
Back came out in 1980.
Yeah, I think this was
But
83.
yeah, so your audience has grown up with the movies, right? So there is 6-year gap in between the original Star Wars movie and also this one as well. I don't know. I think when you think back to when Return of the Jedi came out, which holy shit, it's got a really high rating. I didn't realize how high the rating was. I think it's a little bit disappointing and anticlimactic when your last film of your trilogy is trying to be very cutesy and very maybe too comedic. And I think that the contrast is terrible with the final fight between Vader and Luke. Like what's going on is like, I mean, it's not happening at the exact same moment, but you get Ewoks, and then all of a sudden you get Luke somewhat turning to the dark side and wanting to kill his father. That's a big switch for me. I'm saying Luke was taking out his
father.
Oh, it's not that he wants to. I mean, he is like, I love it. It's my favorite moment ever where someone is holding a lightsaber. For lightsabers, for me, they never work when they seem too choreographed, right? You can say, oh, it's because they're using the Force and they're doing all this fancy shit. Sure, right? But I like it when someone is using a lightsaber, like they have a purpose and they're uncontrolled, which is what I'm thinking that Luke was going to the dark side, or like hinting at the dark side because he was feeding his anger when it came to his father. And I'll never forget, and like I said, it's my favorite moment, is when Luke has it and he's not doing anything fancy. He's literally just, as hard as he can, he is just wailing down on Vader. And that's when he like severs his arm off. It's so powerful. And I've never seen that, and I still never seen that in Star Wars, just someone use a lightsaber that way. So I think that is maybe the most intense Luke has ever been. Maybe it's like up there with, Luke, I am your father, as in the emotion that he is feeling. It's a little bit different though. It's more angry. So I think when you have that intensity and then you have the Ewoks, the Empire doesn't feel like a threat. It doesn't seem like the Emperor, it kind of seems like he's just laying around. Like he knows that they're on Endor, but he's just kind of chilling. He's like, nah, I got a plan. Let's just chill here. And then you have all these stormtroopers and these AT&Ts that are just getting fucked up by these bears. I don't know. I think that maybe the Empire should have been at their pinnacle. Like this is not the same Empire that was in the last movie for me. Like I'm not scared of that, and I wanted that.
I think that in this movie, it's either a 3.5 or a 4 for me. And whenever I think about it, it's got to be a 4 because the good moments are genuinely some of the best Star Wars we ever have. And so
I agree on the beginning, by the way. I agree on the beginning.
Yeah, the beginning is excellent. The middle drags so much for me. and then the climax is excellent. But there's a couple things that I like can't forgive this movie for, genuinely. I think Endor is a really fucking boring set piece, and the fact that this, just like the redwood forests in California, is your big cool final planet that you're planning all of this on, not cool, right?
Not Mustafar.
It's not Mustafar, it's not Cloud City, it's not
The Death Star.
It's not the Death Star. Like, I think the set piece is genuinely uninteresting. B, I think the Ewoks, I just don't fucking care. I think they're like, it's like a toy sales, whatever. I didn't even like them as a kid. I'm sure some do. Connor, I know you said you did. That didn't latch on with me. It's annoying. I don't like seeing these little tiny bears like fuck up the Empire. I get what the messaging is, but it's kind of too on the nose for me. A little too silly. And then 3 or C, I think I was doing ABCs there. Death Star 2 is the dumbest thing that George Lucas ever wrote. He's wrote a lot of dumb shit. I love this franchise. I would die for it. But the second Death Star ruins this so much for me. That this big bad Empire is like, now we're just going to do that again, actually. And it's just like, but we're going to plug the hole this time. It's like, can you just make it like on a planet or something, or do some other, like, build it on a sick planet like Mustafar, basically. Or like, obviously it didn't exist at the time, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is just another concept that I'm like, it's unforgivable. And then the fact that they do it again in Force Awakens with just like basically another thing. And I'm like, can we in this franchise get away from building big, giant planet killing things? Like, there's other ways of committing genocide. Not that I want to be the one up here, like, telling them ways to do that. But like, you see,
like Order 66, that's
Order 66 cool. Is crazy.
Yes.
We're going to see some stuff in Andor that's going to get crazy.
I've heard.
Like, yeah. And there's ways of being threatening and commanding planets that, I don't know. I just really don't like the Death Star 2. So those are things that I just genuinely dislike. But the opening is incredible. All of the moments with Luke and Darth Vader and Emperor are incredible. And there's a lot of fun stuff in the climax alongside that. So it's a very good movie. It's the weakest of the 3 for me, but when it's good, it's great.
I hear what you're saying on everything you said. The only thing I kind of want to slightly disagree with maybe is when you said about
disagree with me
Endor.
All you want, Connor.
I mean, it's about Endor, and like that was filmed in the redwoods in California, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay,
least, yeah.
That sounds right to me from when I've looked it up before and stuff. But I think that part actually does make some sense, because a lot of like George Lucas's kind of inspiration behind a lot of this was America and Vietnam. So it almost makes sense that his final fight is in this heavy jungle wooded area, similar to Vietnam. Like, obviously vastly different types of forests, but it makes kind of sense when George Lucas, like, that's what he was thinking when he was making these movies. And then the final fight is going to take place in a heavily wooded area.
That's fair.
But was George thinking about that throughout all these movies? That's what I'm curious about. Obviously, Endor is very reminiscent of Vietnam, but I think that he should have that idea in mind the entire time. I guess it's like environmentalism, like basically, being somewhere we shouldn't be, kind of a aspect. But I don't think that carries over throughout all 3 films, and you have to look at this as a trilogy. So I think that just having Endor at all in the final film is very jarring, and it just feels like something that just wouldn't. I don't know. It just doesn't flow as smoothly as I think the trilogy could have flowed.
What's standing out to you that doesn't feel like it in Empire and New Hope?
Like I said, it's just like you can think of Han's character in this is the fact that I think this was the point, and Sean hinted at it, where Star Wars was becoming very merchandisable, right? And very, very in touch with kids. And this is when kids really connected to it. So I think tonally, this movie has a lot of different tones. I think that doesn't match. There's nothing in the Endor sequences in this movie don't line up with anything, in my opinion, in A New Hope or anything in Empire Strikes Back. There's not a single moment that feels the same.
I can agree with you. This one feels more childish, but you made the comment that did he have that mindset in all three of these? Is there a part
I
in
guess.
New Hope Empire that doesn't feel like that to you?
I mean, I guess all of it. You talk about just the Endor storyline in general.
I'm talking about his inspiration being America and Vietnam.
I'm not sure. I'm just maybe not as educated on that as I need to be. But if everything if Endor is supposed to be a representation of that, I feel like Endor as a whole doesn't feel like the other movies, and I don't think that it translates very well when you watch them all in a row. So I'm curious if he had that in mind the entire time, because it seems very I don't know. It feels very off-putting. Endor. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
I'm with you. And along with that, and I think what might like tie into exactly what you're saying, there's an argument that this one might be the most marketable to kids out of every single Star Wars movie.
That's exactly
which
I feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, I mean, you could argue like Revenge of the Sith because it's super fast paced. It never hits the brakes in that movie. It's, super bright colors in that one. This one, teddy bear lookalikes, cheesier jokes, rehashing the same plot line. So, I mean, like, not that kids are like doing a deep analysis of movies, but
see, George has always been like this because also like that's why we have Jar Jar Binks, right? Jar Jar Binks is for the kids. The Phantom Menace is a kid's story, but then you have 80% of it is talking about politics. And I don't think, and I've said this before, I don't think that lines up that well. I don't think kids are very interested in the politics that are going on. I think when you're an adult, you're like, oh, wow, George has got some really big ideas. I can really see what he's trying to do here. But then you're like, Jar Jar is really annoying, right? So in this movie, you have Ewoks, okay, but then, I mean this as politely as possible, you have Princess Leia, sex slave. It's like, what are we doing here? Like everything that's on Tatooine feels very intense and very, maybe not for kids. Maybe kids were different back in 1983, but then you have everything on Endor, and it just doesn't line up for me. He's always been like that. He's always not known where to. His writing seems very inconsistent.
He always says that his stuff's for kids, and I think he likes to say that more now retroactively than maybe he initially thought. Like he's always, I think he always kind of says it with like an underhanded comment. Now he's just like, well, they're kids movies. Like, of course they're kids movies, and it's like, yeah, bro, but you had Leia in a bikini, getting like obviously her name is Slave Leia, and like the implication is all of that, and then you have like crazy stuff in the other movies. Obviously it's juxtaposed with some silly stuff, of course, but it's like they're not just kids movies, man. They're family, maybe kid friendly at times, but yeah, this just feels a little bit sillier to me than the other movies in the Ewok, in the Endor moments. The rest of the movie is sick, but if they put together, this would have been maybe the best Star Wars movie ever if they nailed the Endor, no Death Star 2, and no Ewok shit for me.
Take something tonally, Connor, that's like Endor, and I'm just like I want you to show you my perspective. Take something like Endor and shove that into Revenge of the Sith. Right? I think Revenge of the Sith, not that all the movies are that good.
Take like Jar Jar, right? Like take like way more Jar Jar and throw that into like hype moments of like of fucking Order 66 or something. Like that's kind of how it feels for someone without the nostalgia there. Maybe that's probably a little bit too aggressive. It's not quite Jar Jar, but
I hear what you guys are saying, and like I don't really have arguments for any of it. I was really just kind of defending why maybe Endor was the final planet.
Sure.
And maybe
I could see that too. I could see that too.
But like I'm not gonna argue with you guys. Like I said, this movie is just nostalgia for me, and I know I'm in the minority. I understand the cheesiness. I understand going from very serious, pretty decent action Vader Luke Palpatine back to teddy bears with spears. Like I get it.
And I think it's just the fact that they're bears. Like I like the idea of the Empire.
Are you
like this is
bear.
No, this isn't the right. These aren't the rebels. This is the Empire just invading a very peaceful planet, and I think it's very powerful just to realize you don't need a reason to fight these people. Like you don't have to be a part of the rebellion to realize that the Empire is doing wrong and to fight with the rebels. I think that is a very powerful message. It's just the way that it's carried out that I think was very unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're anti-bear.
I've only done one woodworking project in my life, and it was a little table that I made for my grandma that had a black bear on it.
Sick.
I don't know why that just popped in my mind. I'm not anti-bear.
Who's your NFL team still?
The Chiefs.
Okay. I was gonna see if you were like a Lions fan or something to be or a Packers.
Honestly, I should be a Lions fan. I lived in Michigan for so long. Hold on, I gave up on them before they got good.
Oh,
and I was born. I was born in Kansas City, so I've established to be like, hey, I'm going to be rooting for Kansas City now. Now I am a fair weather fan, right? But I do have some type of root there. So I'm like, now forever, I have to be Kansas City. They could suck in 20 years, and the Lions could win like 6 Super Bowls in a row, and I have to go, bravo, bravo. That's not my team, but bravo, bravo. So we'll see what that happens.
Fair. I was going to try to make some connection there with anti-bears, but we didn't get there.
No, I don't think the Chiefs are anti-bears. But I don't know. Yeah, the beginning of this is kind of sick. Oh, one thing I also don't like, right, is Han is too comedic in this. I think he has just enough jokes and like sly humor, and he's really quippy in the other films. But here, I feel like George didn't really know what to do with him. So he kind of acts like a bumbling idiot, especially when he's on Endor. And I don't think that's the Han that we know. I think he's going to be cool and sophisticated and really know how to get the job done, but at times still act like he's having fun. But here, he's kind of pictured as a moron in parts.
I'm happy you brought that up because that's like one of my big gripes from when I watched it earlier. Is like at the very end, the Rebels won, and he's like, "I understand if you love Luke," and Leia's like, "No, he's my brother." The facial expressions that he goes through in like 30 seconds is just insane.
Yeah, I think that maybe they could have written that in, that he would have known that or something. Like maybe they could have written it in that.
But Stone, do you know why he was frozen in carbonite? I'm just curious.
Well, it's because he was going to be delivered to Jabba, right?
Well, that's how they wrote it into the story. Really, Harrison Ford was only contractually obligated for 2 movies, and they weren't sure if he was coming back for Return of the Jedi. And he filmed Raiders in between these, and then his schedule was free to come back for this.
Oh, interesting.
So
it's very interesting.
I think that might tie in to why
that might have hurt his character.
Maybe they wrote him on the fly.
Also, I heard that like carbonite like poisoning, like he's still like getting over it, so he's just like, ugh.
Yeah, that's also
especially
like,
when he's in Tatooine.
That's the big like fan theory that like his carbonite fever dream was just Indiana Jones, because there's all the shit like there's a 3PO and R2D2 like blanking on hieroglyphic. There's one of the bars he goes to is called like Mos Eisley Bar or something in Indiana Jones. I'm messing that up, but yeah.
That's funny. I hadn't heard that. I actually got to rewatch Indiana Jones movies. I haven't seen those in a long time.
So what do you think about Han in this, Sean?
Yeah, it's kind of like a caricature of himself. He's still got some prime Han moments, but there's a little bit, I don't know, like, yeah, I was trying to like relate it to any other performance he might have had at the time, but Indy was more stoic than this. Like he's just, I don't know. It's just not my favorite. Like Empire Strikes Back and New Hope, which is prime Han, and this just feels a little bit more hokey to me. It's just kind of the whole movie kind of feels like that. So I don't know.
The best fight in all of Star Wars is going on behind me right now. I'm turning around.
It's a good fight. It's a good fight.
Yeah. It's a good fight. Oh, Mark Hamill's acting right now. Sorry.
I swear to God, Stone, if you get us a copyright on YouTube,
you cannot see that.
That'd be awesome.
Stone, I hate to keep like throwing the questions at you, but I have a feeling
Sean, I'm a very big Star Wars knowledge. I can't even talk right now. I've had too many white monsters.
Do you know like why Palpatine built Vader's suit the way that he did?
Ooh. Well,
Sean, if you know what I'm getting at and you know a better way to phrase that, let me know.
If my memory serves me correctly, Anakin got really fucked up at the end of Revenge of the Sith, right? So he would need something to like keep them together. So there's a suit there. Also, it seems like his breathing's a little bit not the best. So there's like these little buttons right here that probably help his breathing. Black, pretty menacing. Don't get too scared of me right now. Capes, they kind of rock as long as you're not in the Incredibles. Yeah. Palpatine, the Emperor, is just a lover of cinema.
Honestly, I love your description better than what I'm about to give you. But it ties in because Palpatine always feared, with how powerful Anakin was, that he would try and rebel against him at some point, which it's not canon that he did. It's in the books, but like some people claim it's canon. But he built his suit on purpose to like amplify the lightning that comes out of his fingers. So if he did try to rebel, he could just do that, and it completely like immobilizes Vader, basically, and is like the most painful thing for him, which ties into why he like takes so much damage and basically dies from it at the end of this movie.
I don't know about the lightning. I did hear about, like, I think this is canon actually, that like he purposely built the suit where he'll just kind of always be in pain from it. Like he's alive, but
yeah,
he could have done it better, but like he wants to keep him in this state of rage and anger and not have him any type of heal or like heal over time or have any thoughts of overthrowing him, the Emperor. So he just like wanted to like restrict him, like while keeping him powerful, just not like free will thinking powerful, I guess.
I know that one is 100% canon, and I'm like 99.9% sure the lightning part of it is canon as well.
All right. I think a good way to end this conversation of this episode is we need to talk about lore, because you guys are Star Wars people and you're racking off facts right now that add to Return of the Jedi, but they weren't written during Return of the Jedi. They were written later. And I'm curious, how does something become lore, official lore? Is it like green checked by George Lucas? Like I know there are numerous books out there from Star Wars. What makes it lore or not? Why can't anybody just make up, Anakin Skywalker went and had an affair with someone in the middle of the Clone Wars and then came back and never talked about it? What's preventing someone from doing that?
That's what the extended universe was. So before Disney bought, this is like, you'll get a bunch of the bad part of the fandom that'll be like, extended universe was cooler, Star Wars Legends is cooler, just take that. But Star Wars Legends was basically, they were giving the license out to anybody that wanted it to make their own Star Wars stories, so no one was overseeing the stories. So people might have cool parts of it that they love, but then there also might be another story about the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard. So
like, all of that is lore.
Now it's Legends. So Disney comes in and buys it. It's easy. This is really easy to understand. There was all these books and everything. Disney comes in and says, no. That's all Legends now. That's all myth. That's not actually fact. If you guys want to you guys can have fun with it. We're calling that Star Wars Legends, where it's like fun Elseworld stories. Now we're doing Star Wars canon, which is Disney, and anything that they greenlight has to be ran through, like, I don't know if it's Lucas, if he's theirs a little bit, but basically it's Dave Filoni that is like the mouthpiece with George Lucas. They still talk all the time. And like, he was kind of the shepherd of his main lore, right? I believe, Connor. And so then anything that gets made now, they are much stricter with who gets to do stories. So any comic, any video game, any movie or show, any decision in these shows has to be ran through that creative team to make sure that it matches the vision for what they're trying to tell, which is a bitch to do. It's kind of like a Kevin Feige, where it's like, hey, Kevin, can we have, I don't know, Red Guardian do this and this? He's like, no, I got plans for him in this movie. Like, that's kind of what it is. Whereas before, people would just write whatever the hell they'd want, and they'd be dope, but they'd be like just a series of books that didn't matter to any other series of books.
And that's lore, right? Those random things that people are writing is just lore.
I wouldn't call that lore. Lore is official lore. So like anything
what is that?
Anything that me and Connor are referencing are things that are Disney official canon.
Okay.
And so anything else, like, there's all like this, like, Luke Skywalker had a, like his own kids and all this stuff, and like crazy stuff with that, and like their own sequel, that sequel trilogy I was telling you about that Lucas was going to do, right? Like that is Legends. That's not lore anymore. Lore is only things that in the universe like happened.
So Disney acknowledges that whatever you guys were saying about the suit that was written in the past, and Disney has given the green check.
It's in
on
a comic
that.
somewhere. There's a Darth Vader comic that explains where the suit came from and why it was built that way.
And then is there a website where you go to and it's like StarWarsLore.com/Disney Plus? And you're just like,
Wikipedia is really good.
Wikipedia is very good.
Wikipedia.
Yeah. Okay. So
and they'll differentiate between Legends and canon.
Yeah.
So if you're like, okay, you're really interested in Endor, right? For whatever reason, fuck that planet, but say you are, you go on to Wikipedia, you type it in, it'll say, in Legends, here's what Endor is, but in canon, here's what it is. And you know that canon is actually what matters to any other story that Disney has told.
Yeah, Stone, I was already texting Sean about this a couple weeks back, but I'm going to kind of steal his idea for learning the lore on Harry Potter, and I'm going to do Wandering the Worlds with Star Wars.
Take it.
Godspeed. Do you think that knowing all this lore puts like a haze of bias over the original trilogy for you sometimes?
Yeah, that's what it's all for. You know, like that's
but
what,
it wasn't there at the beginning. That's my big problem. I think you have to, we said it, like imagine looking at these movies back in 77, 80, 83. I think you have to take them for what they are because Lucas didn't write that lore.
Yeah, but he did.
He could have come up with that idea 10, 15 years later, though. And he's like, you know what? That does sound better. You know what? You can write that, my guy. I just
There's
don't.
There's not that much in there that ties it like too much to that, right? Where it's like, it depends how you consume things. Connor and I are psychopaths. We're going to, likely read and watch everything that ever comes out from the franchise. And if you like that stuff, it is there. Like you can take it, you could dive into it. You could learn all about every aspect of Star Wars, and that'll make other shit way cooler. Or you could just watch A New Hope and be like, that rocks. It's that a lot of these things are not, they don't have major implications on other things. Sometimes they do, but when they do, I think they take care to actually tie it in more. Like Ahsoka, major character. I think they are very careful with how they handle her lore and how she fits into the world because she's not in the movies. Does it make sense? No, but I think in the show they really kind of tie it in there and they kind of fit it. Shit like the lightsabers or the Darth Vader suit and like these fun little things like that can all be official without it really mattering to the movie.
If we want to talk about how careful they are, there's a throwaway line in Revenge of the Sith that says that Anakin and Grievous never met each other, and then they wrote 7 seasons of an animated show where they never met.
Like went out of their way in singular episodes to not do that. So like they are very careful, and I will say that Lucas, while he's not the owner anymore, he's still the keeper of the shit. And like there's stuff that it's just like Filoni will still go back and talk to Lucas, be like, well, what if I do this? And he's like if you hear Filoni talk, he goes to him all the time and he'll be like, yeah, I didn't really see it that way. And be like, oh, how'd you see it? Be like, oh, that's way cooler. Let's do that. So like, he's still one of those weirdos with this whole world in his head. And regardless if you care about it or not, that's kind of where it is. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a good enough answer for you, Stone. I just think like a lot of these things, like you can read a singular comic or you could read the 50 build-up comics beforehand. You could read Secret Wars. You could build every tie-in Secret Wars comic. And then is it lore? Does it matter? Does it not? Does it build on the characters? You could watch Infinity War, or you could watch the 23 movies that build up before Infinity War. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and then like Stone, to give you like an idea too, like Legends Luke, everyone who's a massive Luke defender only brings up Legends.
Yeah, that's why Luke is beloved so much.
In Legends, Luke can like make his own worlds. Like no joke.
They make him like the most hilariously overpowered person that's ever like beating Goku from Dragon Balls, beating Superman, like which is cool.
Starkiller look like a chump.
Exactly. And Starkiller's not even canon anymore. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff that can go in there. But people who love Luke are just like they just grew up reading the books that are no longer canon, my opinion.
All right. I'm fine with lore as long as it's not written to fix mistakes. I don't think there's a mistake when it comes to Vader, getting electrocuted and sure, it hurts him even more because his suit's built this way.
Yeah.
Sure, that's fine. It doesn't hurt the story
Do
at
you
all.
think
But
there is one that fixes a mistake?
I mean, like we talked about in A New Hope, right? Is like this is why maybe the stormtroopers were just chilling, just
That's
looking at the
small
lightsaber
though. That's
fight.
like
It
I
is
don't know
small.
if
It is
that's-
small. And probably if I knew way more lore or legends or whatever, and I had like a fresh memory of all the Star Wars films, I'm sure there is maybe something I could find like that, but it doesn't hurt. And I just want to let you guys know that I love that you guys love your lore. Put a pin in that. That was a good way to
Take it.
end this.
That's
okay,
why I
any
like
final
the
thoughts?
franchise.
Oh.
I like the franchise because you can consume it at any degree. You could be like my wife, or probably all of our wives that just like will watch the movies and they think Grogu's cute and they enjoy that, or your wife hates Grogu apparently. And you could go in there and you could watch like 10 hours of everything that happened between episodes 3 and 4 video and chug 4 white monsters while doing it and have a hell of a time. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot. There's a lot of different ways you could enjoy the franchise.
I was gonna say my wife is not the biggest Grogu fan, but she is currently watching the Clone Wars.
Love it.
And she walked down the aisle to Across the Stars, and her bouquet was Ahsoka's lightsaber hilt. So
that's sick. We got introduced to the Mando theme, like hip hop version.
We're all such nerds. Mine
Yeah,
is Jurassic Park intro.
Yes, that's good.
The original trilogy, because our cake topper was "I Love You, I Know," and our pillowcases are that.
And that's a perfect way to end this discussion, man. Star Wars brings love into the galaxy and love into people's hearts. Wow.
And into the bed sheets.
Okay.
Connor said it. I didn't say it.
Andor is more of an adult show. Maybe we'll see that in Andor, but
maybe.
Sean, I mean, I don't know if you've watched anything recently that you want to recommend to the audience. I mean, we've had a huge Star Wars discussion today. It could be TV. It seems like you're cranking out maybe some television shows rather than some movies lately. What are you watching?
I'm kind of like a popular TV merchant right now. Like I don't know if I could recommend anything off the beaten path here. Invincible rocks, Severance rocks, Andor rocks, Daredevil Born Again solid. Like I don't know if there's anything off the beaten path that I've explored. I don't know if I've shouted out Arcane on this podcast before. Watch Arcane. Watch Arcane. I don't know if have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, I got a Blu-ray behind me of the first season because I love it so much. So
season 2 is not as good, but season 1 is like pitch perfect. Season 2 is a little bit rushed at the end.
Oh, I don't know.
In my opinion, everything
interesting.
A little bit rushed.
I don't know. I won't get into it now. I don't get into it.
Got to do an Arcane episode. I mean, it might be too late. Show's done, but not forgotten.
One of the best shows of all time.
Connor, do you have anything? I mean, you watched Star Wars, 6 movies of Star Wars this week, but 3 of them were the same thing. You watched the trilogy twice. That was a really difficult way of saying that.
I'm sorry. I know we're off the topic. I just want to ask this one last thing for you two. Do you guys like that they edited out and put in Hayden Christensen at the end for the Force Ghost?
This is actually a good way to end it. Stone wants to kill himself right now.
Connor, I wrapped up this episode, so I was wrapping it up.
I know. I'm so sorry. I needed to know.
Yeah. Hayden rocks.
Okay, cool.
That's the best way to end it. See ya.
Cool.
Hayden's fine. I don't care.
I'll recommend Fanboys.
I've heard of this. What is that?
It's like a really cheesy comedy, but it's a true story about these guys who are massive Star Wars fans.
You did this last time. You did this last part. You need a new one.
All right, I'll go with a new one. Stone, you go.
On the spot.
He said, I'll go to a new one. Stone, you go. I'll just recommend, I mean, it was a movie that came out earlier this year. I just went on Max. I was like, you know what, let me recommend something. We never talked about it on the pod, but I think Companion was a really solid, funny horror film that came out earlier this year with Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid. A lot of good humor in it. We don't necessarily know. Me and Dan talked about it. We don't know if it's pro AI or against AI, but it's about basically a woman that her boyfriend isn't necessarily treating her that well. And I guess I already spoiled it with the AI, but basically she is a sex robot. But she finds that out when she didn't know that, and she tries to take revenge on him. And my brother had a really good review of this because her name is Iris, and he applied that to the fact that she's a Goo Goo doll, like Goo Goo Dolls, the song Iris. He thought that was a good pairing. Pretty clever. Pretty clever.
Nice.
All right, that give you enough, Connor? Enough time?
Yeah. I'll go with a movie from last year that I really liked, and I really want to like find a way to plug it in the podcast so Dan and I can talk about it because we disagree heavily. But I really enjoyed We Live in Time with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. For anyone who
I still never got around to watching that.
Okay. I really liked it. Dan, I think, has it at a 1.5 star.
1.5.
I think that's what I can double check while I talk about this. But for our audience who doesn't know what the movie is about, it basically follows Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. They're married. They have a daughter together, and Florence Pugh is, I think she's world famous at this point. If not, she's in a competition to basically make her a world famous chef. But while that's going on, she gets diagnosed with cancer, and this is kind of like she's kind of accepted that she's not going to beat cancer, and this like final chef like cooking competition is like her, end all be all. Oh, I'm sorry. Dan has it at a 2.5.
2.5. All right,
but
we'll take it.
I really enjoyed it. I have it at a 4.5.
It's on my watch list, so I got to go see it.
Yeah, I think I'm missing this weekend's podcast episode, so I think I'm sorry. After this episode comes out, it'll be the previous week's, but I think I'm probably going to get around to watching some stuff that I've been meaning to get to for a while. But one thing I really want to get to this week is A Complete Unknown.
Oh, fire. Very good.
You just watched that recently, Sean, right?
I did. Yeah. I slacked very hard towards the fall season to the end of the year last year. So I missed a lot of big movies. I'm trying to play catch up now. And A Complete Unknown rocked, I think. I like Bob Dylan. My dad was a big Bob Dylan head. That's probably fair to say. Yeah, he I listened. I had enough exposure to Bob Dylan where I cared about the movie. And Timothy Chalamet is awesome, and he sings and he plays, and it's all great. So good movie.
Well, with that, Sean, thanks for helping us talk about the original Star Wars trilogy. Showing off my VHS cases right now.
That's
I think
a
I got
flex right there.
all these for $5. I think they actually do come in like a box set. The box did not come with this set, but actually works because I don't think it could have fit in that thing.
Nice.
But anyways, until the sequels, my friend, I don't know if that's gonna be the next time we have you on. You're gonna be a different man by then, and I'm excited for you.
A wiser, maybe a stronger man. I don't know. We'll see what the lore says. I'll get some strength.
Wait, are you having a daughter? You're having a daughter, right?
Son.
Oh man, that's fine. I was thinking Ray Skywalker.
Oh man.
I was gonna say,
come on, bro.
Sean, Brock, and me are all having sons within the next month.
And Sammy, I don't know if you know Sammy J Reacts. He's having a son.
His is due within the next month too.
Yeah, like I think June.
Hell yeah.
When's your due date, Connor?
June 15th, but I'm telling you, my wife's not making it out of May.
Yeah, I don't think my wife might not make it out of April. So we'll see. It's gonna be exciting time coming.
My daughter was 3 weeks early, so 3.5 weeks early. So
say, Connor, Sean, you can talk about your other baby for a second if you want. Where can people find you on your social medias?
I am Modern Mythos Media on every social channel, I believe. TikTok's kind of the hub spot for it, but I'm on IG. I'm trying to grow that too. Shout out IG for actually allowing over 1.5 minute reels for once. So now I feel like I can actually grow over there, which is sick. I just started YouTube Shorts as well. YouTube long form is likely not in my future. Maybe like future, but not immediate. But if you're like a YouTube Shorts consumer, I'll be there. Letterboxd, I'm trying to be back on. I'm on Twitter. I tweet like I have thousands of followers and I have like 500. So
I love your tweets.
That's my personal diary that everyone can look at. So if you're curious about what my day to day is or how much I love the Eagles or hate the Sixers, go ahead and follow me there. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. This is always so fun. It feels like just chatting with the boys. That was a 3-hour podcast about Star Wars. So it's all love over here. I'll do this all day.
Absolutely. I want to give a little snapshot next week. Like Connor said, he's going to be off, and me and Dan are going to be discussing with two different guests. I won't say who yet. What's up?
It'll be the previous week by the time this episode airs.
Oh, yeah, my bad. So you guys will find out then, I guess. This is the episode that I was about to talk about is coming out before this episode. So it's going to be horror video games adaptation. So hopefully it goes well.
Oh, sick.
I want to get through. I want to get through Until Dawn in like 2 days, or actually tonight. I'm going to play Until Dawn all night long because I have to stay up because I work night shift tomorrow night. We'll see how that goes. Oh, by the way, good cherry on top of this conversation. Are you guys going to see Revenge of the Sith re-release? Connor, I'm assuming probably Friday night. Friday, Sean?
Saturday.
Ooh, I'm going to call off work on Friday to go see it.
I got 2 tickets on Saturday. So I have a wedding on Friday. I should. They'll understand. Saturday, I got 2 tickets thinking my wife would want to come, but she is like, there's no way I can sit through a movie right now, which is entirely fair, but she's being one of the best wives and saying,
you and I can go see here.
She's like, you can go see the movie by yourself if you want. And I'm like, thank you. You understand me. So we'll see if my son allows me to, future son allows me to do that, and as long as he doesn't come early. But I was just on, I was talking to someone else earlier as a nice little button on this, and he was like, hey, there is a labor and delivery scene at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So maybe it'll time up her perfectly. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. At that point, fuck it. So
I was going to say, shout out to a friend of the podcast, and I'll call him a personal friend of mine now, but Brock. He always goes early to get the popcorn buckets, and he's going to get me one of the ones at AMC.
Oh, nice.
Brock's wife's pregnant too, right? You guys already said that?
That's what I was saying. Like, dude,
there's a lot of us, man. It's very funny. All boys,
3 weeks, Sean, Brock, and I are all going to have new babies at home.
Well, these are my babies. Cinema. Yeah, I don't have 2 dogs. I don't need more dogs. But yeah, on that note, guys, I hope you have a great May the 4th and Revenge of the 5th. And I think this comes out on the 6th. So please, I hope you're listening until now, and don't forget us after the holidays are over. But sometime this week, go outside, sit on a park bench, touch some grass, and we'll see you on the next episode of Google Podcasting. Peace out.